Let's go.
On July 21st, 2025, Iron Mouse, one of the biggest VTubers on the planet, would suddenly and without prior warning post this video titled "Why I Left VShojo," one of the most iconic and recognizable agencies in the industry that she's been with since 2020, so almost 5 years now. It would be in this video that she reveals to the world for the first time ever that VShojo had stolen over $500,000 from her that were meant to go to a charity. Something that even a comic book supervillain wouldn't think of doing. But it only got worse from here. Soon enough, you'd have previous and current talents of VShojo, as well as some other very prominent VTubers in the industry, reveal to us how VShojo was behind the scenes, how they were mistreated, and how this once iconic company was nothing more than a facade, hiding behind it an extremely toxic and disastrous management that was leading it. But some of these crazy revelations, these bombshells that these VTuber talents were telling us, occurred years ago, making us revisit past controversies and incidents that this company was in and see it from a completely different perspective now with this new added context. This is why, in order to truly understand the depth of this catastrophe, I had no choice but to go back to the absolute beginning, even before VShojo was founded, even talking about the origins of its CEO, Gunrun. And this 2-hour video is the result of that. We're going to be going through all the major lows and highs of VShojo all the way to its very violent and sudden death. I say this with no exaggeration. This is the biggest VTuber related controversy in history, and it's not even close. So without
all I really know is like, oh, when I saw this title for when I saw the title for the rise and fall of VShojo, I don't know much about VShojo as an entirety because I was just learning about like the companies and shit when I was making when I was working on, you know, thing the best model for me, and this is not it, which is, you know, I'm getting mine in October, like a really good one. But I was still trying to learn about the companies, even though I knew I was going to be indie anyway. And then the stuff came out with Iron Mouse or whatever. So I saw the Iron Mouse stuff and I was like, oh, so like 3 months ago when I heard that VShojo was literally the best, I had a feeling, you know, that you might think that, but we're behind they're behind closed doors, you know? Literally deadass anything could be the case. It turns out my instinct was right.
Without further ado, let's talk about it. The dot-com crash was a catastrophic financial incident that took place in the US around the year 2000. You see, the World Wide Web had been introduced in the early 1990s, and early adopters would quickly understand that this was going to change life as we know it. So all of a sudden, the word internet held a lot of weight. I mean, this was going to change the world. So obviously, if a company was going to operate on that internet, then it was going to be a part of this new world order that stands to be very profitable. This is when investors would decide to throw stacks of cash at any company claiming to operate on the internet. There was truly no need to dive into any specifics about how they were operating, their costs, and how they planned to make money. Just the fact that they were on the internet meant that they were going to be successful because this was going to change the world. Soon enough, the word internet would lose all meaning, becoming a buzzword like AI is in 2025. If a company claims to have AI in their product, then their stock skyrockets in a day. It's ridiculous. And so, after years of euphoria and investing in anything internet-related, investors would realize at the end of 2000 that many of these businesses weren't even generating any revenue. They literally had no way to make money. So everyone started panic selling at the same time, causing the bubble to literally burst. The majority of these companies went extinct and very few survived. This would actually be quite similar to what happened with live streaming websites, although on an extremely smaller scale and not affecting any global financial institutions. I mean, have you ever heard of the website BattleCam? No?
No.
Well, that's normal, but don't bother Googling it because it doesn't even have a Wikipedia page. But at the time when it was founded in the early 2000s, it had a proper community and a sizable amount of streamers, competing against each other in challenges in order to win cash prizes. And while the majority of things related to this website were lost to history, one of the only things we still have left is a clip of Keemstar crying when he was shown a picture of how bad his balding had become. And speaking of Keemstar, in this now very infamous clip, he would start off his rant saying, "F this, I'm on Block TV with my hands up," referring to yet another streaming website that was lost to history. In the early 2000s, there were so many of these, but unfortunately, 99% of these websites would cease to exist and many would be lost to history, except one in particular. Justin.tv. It was founded in the year 2007 and was named after its founder, Justin Kan. But initially, you couldn't even stream on the website. Only Justin could. Its entire purpose was centered around Justin and him live streaming his entire life. He called it life casting. Today, we call it IRL streaming. And when I say that he would stream everything, I mean it. I mean, this is him sleeping right here. And during this interview, he's literally live with his apparatus that he made himself. Eventually, this trend of live casting would catch on. And
yeah, yo, this guy was the one who invented, like, he basically was the one who invented streaming yourself all the time. If it wasn't for this guy, then, you know, a lot of the IRL streamers probably wouldn't exist right now. That's interesting. What the fuck? I didn't know this.
Justin TV would allow anyone to create an account and broadcast themselves live to, well, a group of strangers. And as the platform continued to grow beyond anyone's expectations, in 2011 it would come up with a decision that would change everything forever. The creation of Twitch.tv, a separate website from Justin.tv that was not only centered on just live streaming, but more specifically centered on live streaming video games. But early on, after Twitch.tv had been created, the best way I could describe how the website functioned was more like a Discord server, in the sense that everyone kind of knew each other. Everyone knew who the most prominent streamers were, but more importantly, Twitch staff was very approachable. They'd always be in someone's chat, making the streamers feel like they were really part of a community. And at the time, what really differentiated Twitch from other websites was their global emotes. You could use these in any streamer's chat and you wouldn't have to pay a single thing. But what was really interesting here is that many of the early emotes were inside jokes that only people on the website would understand. One form of these inside jokes was creating emotes out of Twitch staff in funny pictures, like this one right here by the name of Anele. This was one of the earliest employees at Twitch. And another emote that you'd find that was based on a staff member as well was the gun run emote. What made this emote special is that whenever you saw a streamer encounter some sort of technical difficulty, the chat would start spamming it as a way to summon Gunrun himself, the staff member that the emote was based on. He was seen as a genius who understood live streaming like no one else. In fact, when Business Insider...
Wait, Gunrun is... Yo, wait, Gunrun is the, was the guy running VShojo, right? And what the fuck? So he has like a good past history with working for Twitch. So that does, like, in a way that did make him like one of the prime people to help technically manage, in quotations, technically manage other streamers, you know, letting them know, hey, this is what you do. This is what we do. Don't do this. Don't be stupid. You know, here's the, like, you know. So yeah, that does make it, and especially since he was a technical guy or whatever, he could probably help fix streams and shit or whatever the fuck. I don't know how often you were allowed to talk to this guy. I heard that he was kind of a piece of shit to some of the members of VShojo. But that's interesting.
Went to Twitch to visit their office and create an article on the people who work there, the first image you're greeted with when you click on the article is Gunrun himself, sitting on his desk, smiling. This is how Business Insider would describe him, saying, Justin the Gunrun Ignacio went from esports fanboy to streaming guru by the time he was 21. Twitch hired him out of college to help run thousands of simultaneous video streams and
wow.
orchestrate the tech for its signature tournaments. In 2013, Forbes named Ignacio in its 30 under 30 games list. So yeah, no big deal. This guy was just kind of a genius. He'd be single-handedly helping Twitch run these massive streams of hundreds of thousands of viewers watching tournaments from Dota 2 and League of Legends, for example. And additionally, he was in the Forbes 30 under 30 list for 2014, which is a list made up of 30 people who are under the age of 30 that have been a huge influence in their respective industry. Not bad for a 21-year-old. But if that wasn't enough, he was also taking Justin Khan's vision to the next level, creating a backpack filled to the brim with technology that could withstand streaming IRL at high resolution with no interruptions. He called it the Gunrun IRL Backpack. Overall, as time would go by, Twitch and its staff would get a lot of attention. Forbes would be calling it the ESPN of video games. It seemed unstoppable. So much so that even Amazon took notice and eventually bought the website for $970 million on August 26, 2014, making its founders very rich but also ending its tight-knit culture centered around staff and streamers, transforming it into a very corporatized company. After this buyout, Gunrun would keep working at Twitch for the next few years. He would also keep developing his Gunrun IRL backpack and would create the company Unlimited IRL that sells these backpacks straight up to streamers who want to stream IRL with high quality and no interruptions. And while I'm sure his life was going good and he was achieving things that he found fulfilling, there would come a time where his life, and pretty much almost every human's life, would change forever.
Bro, that's interesting. I never knew that Amazon was the one who bought out Twitch and just decided to, own it. I wonder if Amazon truly makes any of these changes then. Or if they just technically own it so that they can make money off of it. I don't know.
Making many of us divert to places that we never thought we'd end up in. And that would be none other than the COVID 2020 pandemic. During the pandemic, many people were isolated and couldn't do much outside. This meant that for many, in order to stay sane to some degree, they had to keep themselves entertained, and the only way to do that was through the internet. This completely skewed the numbers on so many things, Genshin Impact being an example. Launching at the end of 2020 and getting so many players that it had made over $1 billion in under 6 months.
Damn.
But video games wouldn't be the only thing that would go up in numbers substantially. Entertainment of all kinds would skyrocket, including streaming. This also included a fairly new genre of streaming, which was VTubing. You see, the pioneer of VTubing was none other than Kizuna Ai, starting her activities at the end of 2016. Unlike Hatsune Miku, which is a virtual being run by a team of people and a corporation, Kizuna Ai was actually a person, except that person was using a virtual avatar to express themselves. And even though she was a streamer, much of her brand was centered around the Japanese idol template. She wasn't just a streamer, she could sing and she could perform. She behaved like an idol, and the expectations of an idol were laid upon her shoulders. But for years to come after 2016, VTubing would really remain a very Japanese-centric form of entertainment. This would change in 2020 when many content creators and, well, many people in general would start using VR chat in order to combat isolation. Seeing so many people express themselves through avatars would make the idea of a VTuber way less weird than it used to be. This would
I swear. It's very interesting because I don't anymore because of how bad it got, and I'm thinking about coming back to it just a little bit. Seeing how a lot of big names still play VR chat. Just they mainly do in private worlds, which that sucks. But I used to play the fuck out of VR chat, and I didn't have a VR headset at the time. So back way before the pandemic, and also when I had the world's shittiest laptop imaginable, couldn't even run half the VR chat worlds. I remember I used to only play because of the Ugandan Knuckles meme, and I thought it was funny, and I wanted to partake in it. Around the time where all you would see is Ugandan Knuckles in every fucking world, which I still have no idea how that started. But regardless, I played because of that reason. Then I ended up making some pretty cool friends on there, which I no longer see. I learned how model creation was actually done and shit. And so I I would take already existing models and I would just change the colors of some of them. So I learned how to do that, which I only did for one model that a guy made himself and was willing or allowing people to change the color of. Like, shit was pretty cool back then. And then I stopped. And then I came back. I remember coming back a few times before the pandemic, and the game was just like, it wasn't dying yet, but it was slowly changing. And it was all weird and shit. And then the pandemic happened. And this game has never seen such high numbers playing it. So much YouTube content, so many streamers. They were just all over this fucking game. It was actually kind of insane. So yeah, no. Pandemic helped the games like VR chat fucking boost in popularity as well.
Tribute to how VTubing would start to all of a sudden blow up beyond proportion. But of course, the ones that would benefit the most and the quickest would be the two biggest VTuber corporations on the planet, both based in Japan and already possessing a big established talent roster. They would go by the names of Hololive and Niji Sanji. They were absolutely dominating streaming in ways that people could have never imagined. And to give you an idea of just how much VTubing had blown up, when Niji Sanji first went public on the Japanese stock market, it was valued at $1.1 billion. Yes, a VTuber agency valued at $1.1 billion. These are not rookie numbers by...
And they're showing me, like, I mean, maybe it's just because I'm newer, right? But they're showing me all these fucking people in this picture, and I don't know a single fucking one of them. Like, $1.1 billion, and it's a VTuber company, any color, and not a single one of these people are recognizable to me. I'm curious if any of these people still like were either working the business, graduated, or just overall quit. Like, I wonder how many of these actual like streamers here still stream, because you definitely don't fucking see them anymore.
Any means. VTubing was very hard to ignore at that point.
Oh,
so much.
Imagine being...
I knew it. Hold on. I'm so fucking sorry. I thought I was using Oprah, bro. Went a while without horrendous shit happening on my fucking screen.
When Niji Sanji first went public on the Japanese stock market, it was valued at $1.1 billion. Yes, a VTuber agency valued at $1.1 billion. These are not rookie numbers by any means. VTubing was very hard to ignore at that point. So much so that even popular streamers that would have never delved into this before saw the potential and tried to do some VTubing themselves, trying to snatch a piece of that pie. Look, it was safe to say that by that point, there was global demand for VTubers. It wasn't centered on Japan anymore. And while that was really exciting, it also kind of came with a problem. Ever since Kizuna Ai, VTubers were seen like idols. So these Japanese idol expectations came with being a VTuber when you worked for these two corporations. This meant that they owned everything, even your model. If you were to graduate, which is a Japanese idol way to say retire, then you wouldn't get to keep your model. You would lose your entire identity because it belongs to the corporation. Additionally, it was cool to see these corporations expand to English-speaking talent, but even though this industry was blowing up, there was no real agency in the West. Gunrun would see this as clear as day, which is why on November 24th, 2020, he would announce the creation of the talent agency VShojo, a San Francisco-based VTuber talent agency with its main goal being centered around talent freedom, allowing any talent that chooses to leave the company in the future to retain their full IP and model, as well as their brand in general. He would co-found this company with Mountain Dew, who was a content creator and would hold the post of Chief Marketing Officer at VShojo, and Daniel Sanders, which would be their third and final co-founder. He would hold the position of Chief Operating Officer and would sometimes act as the Chief Financial Officer. Now, what really made VShojo special was the fact that their founding members were already very well established in the VTubing community as independent VTubers. This was completely different from corporations like Nijisanji and Hololive, with every talent starting from scratch with a new idea.
Oh shit, wait. I didn't know they already started off with like... Damn, wait, so I already knew... Let's see. Man, I knew Nyanners before she was a VTuber, bro. I mean, I'm sure a lot of us did. I'm hoping. But for those that didn't, she made, like, the funniest, like, little cover songs. Like, that shit was blowing up for no reason. I mean, fuck, they had a whole meme based off of a few. You know what I'm saying? So it's like... So she started, so she was like, she was like a regular, like, just cover artist that was funny as fuck and had memes made about her. So she was like probably the most popular they threw on this little starting board. Then they were like, Iron Mouse, come on. Zentrea, come on. Silverveil, which interestingly enough, I only recently discovered Silverveil. Like, I didn't really know her beforehand, right? So it's interesting that Silverveil was like, to me, I thought she was like more of a newer member. Like maybe one that was like, introduced like 2 years ago. Not in 2021. You know what I mean? I didn't know she was one of the literal starter ups of this company. So that's interesting.
Identity when they were hired there. Here you had 7 very prominent VTubers carrying over their identity into VShojo and having their already substantial communities follow them. The founding members were Nyanners, Zentrea, Iron Mouse, Silverveil, Project Melody, Apricot Fruit, and Hime Hajime. A few months later, they would also add Veibe to their roster, another independent VTuber with a substantial community. This wasn't just another VTuber agency. This was one that had the potential to not only revolutionize the VTubing industry as we knew it, but to also compete head-to-head with the big two, which were Hololive and Nijisanji, without being a Japanese corporation. And I mean, why wouldn't they? They had the genius Forbes 30 Under 30 CEO, and they had top-tier talent, some of the best in the industry. It normally should have been smooth sailing.
I would agree.
But unfortunately, barely a year after being established, VShojo would face a monumental controversy that would significantly stain its reputation in the VTubing industry. Nuxtaku is a content creator turned VTuber that heavily benefits.
Never mind. I remember this. 1 second. Okay, if you heard that, my apologies. Sorry, it was getting somewhat hot. I had to turn on my fan. But, bro, I remember this shit. I think it was stupid. But then I started, like, somewhat understanding this later on. I think he's about to tell, like... Sorry, I'm probably about to spoil the next fucking... few minutes of this goddamn thing. But I'm probably not going to explain it well anyways. Yeah, basically Nux was, he was trying to help the VShojo company out because of the fact that there was some guy, like, throwing emails at people getting legal personal information off of the already existing streamers. And he made a YouTube video discussing about it, was praised by, he was then praised by VShojo about, like, thank you for your work in trying to help our company and everyone else be safe about this shit, because this is very horrible. And there was even, like, not even an admin or a higher up in VShojo. It was just literally like I think a few of the original VTubers were in the same group chat where he was talking about it and being praised for like, yes, please do it. And they never showed the name, but that fucking VTuber in there was just like, oh yeah, no, this is great, this will be great. And then like the second he releases it, not even a week later, every single VTuber was just like, yo, Nux, what the fuck? You just put us more in danger. Which, knowing how VShojo was running behind the scenes, you know, I don't doubt that they didn't tell the other fucking members what was going on, and all the other members did not feel the same about the video. But every single VTuber within the company, not the one that was lied to about being able to join the company. I'm talking literally every existing member at that point within VShojo was talking about how Nux is a horrible guy or whatever for doing this video. But the issue is, I can understand a majority of the VTubers having a problem with it. What I don't understand is who is that one VTuber who praised it? Because that same VTuber went on Twitter to then talk shit about it. Like, that's fake as fuck. And then VShojo showed that they were fake as fuck around that time too, because they deleted all their praise on Twitter. Like, they had maybe like 5 posts congratulating him and thanking him. And then when they saw when they saw their Iron Mouse say shit about it, love Iron Mouse, by the way, she's not at fault for it. But when she shared her opinion on it, everyone else shared the same opinion. And then after they shared their opinion, VShojo was like, oh, it's bad. This is a bad thing. Well, let's not look like we argue with our workers. No siree. Deletes all the shit. Dear Nux, go fuck yourself. Like, what?
Benefited from the VTuber boom of the pandemic. He was one of the first independent VTubers to ever reach 2 million subscribers on YouTube, and his most successful content would be centered on collaborations, anime critiques, and of course, Mr. Beast style content in which he would donate to people on Twitch in order to get them to do challenges. His rise to fame was very quick. He practically knew everyone in the VTuber industry, and he had a very mutually beneficial relationship with VShojo talents, collaborating with them on many occasions, and by that point be making content with them quite regularly. However, on October 20th, 2021, to everyone's surprise, he would tweet this out, saying, "Someone is trying to dox VTubers by masquerading as VShojo. I can't say more at this time, but please share this around and be careful. They tried to dox me, but I sniffed them out and gave them wrong info, so don't worry about me. I spoke to the CEO of VShojo and I'm trying to untangle everything. I'll update you when I can." You see, VShojo's domain was VShojo.com, that's what they used for their emails. But there was someone impersonating VShojo staff sending emails to VTubers under the VShojo.org domain, hoping to gain their trust and doxing them, uncovering their real names, addresses, and eventually swatting them. Now, Nux was already quite popular. He would have many people try to dox him, he already knew what to do. Unfortunately though, that doesn't apply to everyone. A smaller VTuber by the name of Saki Nightshade would tweet this out around the same time, saying, "Today may have been the most exciting day I've had in a couple of years. Holy fuck, my emotions are off the charts right now, what a day. Unfortunately, I don't think I can elaborate, which makes me extremely sad." She then goes on to say, "Alright, so what I can say is that I've been contacted for something amazing, and if all goes well, it could be truly life-changing. If that doesn't answer questions, I'm so sorry, I'd like to not say anything else about it." So that person, posing as VShojo staff under the VShojo.org domain, had sent an email to Saki saying, "We want to recruit you to VShojo," raising her hopes up and demanding personal information, which she gave. The day after, she would tweet this out, saying, "Well, the group of people who've targeted Nyaners and leaked her info earlier have my info and sent the cops to my door earlier. They're threatening to do more. Other than the threats to leak my info, they aren't saying much else. I guess I should have figured it'd be too good to be true. Oh well, not much can be done." And we can see Nux in the replies saying, "DM me please." So that was the situation. Very messy, very tricky, and very nasty. And Saki gave out a very important piece of information. The group of people targeting her were the same people who had doxed an important member of VShojo, Nyaners, earlier, leaking some of her personal information, but at this point we didn't know just how much. 11 days later, Nux would tweet, "The last 10 days were the most insane of my life. No words could describe how appreciative I am of you and the friends I've made here. Can't wait until I show you everything. I'm changing the game, boy." Teasing something that was in the works. Over the next few weeks, he would keep teasing something that was about to release, and on November 22nd, almost a month after he had received that phishing email, he would tweet out, "Recently, there was a group of doxers that have been harassing VTubers and swatting them by impersonating VShojo. We spent the last month tracking them down. Please share this video." With the video being titled, "I caught a swatter that doxed 12 VTubers, myself included." In it, he would talk about how the email scam worked, how Saki Nightshade was affected, and then would go on to give us information that we didn't know about, which is how 12 VTubers got doxed when we only knew of 2, and how Nux had gained footage of the doxer in a call with a bunch of friends because one of those friends happened to be a Nux fan and was willing to backstab the doxer. And finally, he would specify that that doxer was facing jail time, and if anyone had the same idea of doxing VTubers, they would end up in handcuffs as well. Additionally, when the video was initially posted, VShojo themselves, their official page, had replied saying,
Yeah, see,
"Thank
this is
you,
what I'm
Nux,
talking
for
about.
working with us. We've added our own response to the events," specifying that during this, no information was breached from VShojo and that the fake domain was taken down. It was never going to be used for harmful things ever again. Overall, it seemed like Nux had taken the time to make a detailed video of the events, and that VShojo as an agency not only approved of it, but was able to get through this thanks to this cooperation. So imagine the shock when all of a sudden, almost every single VTuber talent at VShojo would speak out against the video and tell the world how disappointed they are in Nux for releasing it. This same sentiment would of course be echoed by their communities, and it had reached a point where Nux was forced to make a response, tweeting "RE cybersecurity/doxing incident, read," linking a twit longer. And before we even get to the twit longer, on this post you can see VShojo members stating publicly how disappointed they were with Nux and his actions. Iron Mouse would say that she was so disappointed and hurt that he was doing this when he full well knew what was truly going on. "We asked you to take it down, we told you we feared for our safety and you didn't care." Fruit would say, "Asking for you to take it down because I felt my safety was in trouble and for you to go to the company and ask for numerous terms and conditions in return, that's not friendship." So
See, my issue with this, right? How I can't understand it. When I first saw it, I still don't understand it. Like, I'm just remembering my original thought process now. I still don't get it. How are you put in a more dangerous spot when he reveals what is going on? He's not promoting the action, right? He's protecting you guys. He's letting you know, because, all right, let's be real here. Let's be the most genuine, honest people on the fucking planet right now. The action was already happening, meaning that somebody was already doing it. And that there was going to be more people who are able to do it that would think about doing it and then start doing it. Doesn't matter. Like they literally thought that Nux was like exposing it to the world, and then everyone was gonna be like, "Yo, that worked. Let me make phishing email scams right now." Like, no, that's not how that fucking works. You make it an acknowledged thing on the internet. For one, you start making it an acknowledged existing thing. It happens less. It happens less, or at least it'll still happen at the same rate that it was going to happen, but you can be smart about it now. It's like I forget the space guy, like the guy who usually does a whole bunch of like science stuff about space or whatever. I forget his name, but he has a good example of this in one of the theory things that he said, not about space, surprisingly, about human nature. He said that before, like, it goes to the same thing that he was talking about. We are safer in the world when things are brought to our attention. Reason being is because there were so many deaths before TV was even invented. There were so many people dying early. The death rate was actually at the highest it was at the very start of any recorded last date, right? And that goes for everywhere. America, like dead ass, everywhere. All right. So they start, when they had TV and news stations, they decided they were going to start covering a lot of these accidents and shit like that. And when they started doing that, the things that people were dying to on a daily basis the most, that death rate started decreasing because you were showing it to people's eyes. You were bringing it to people's attention. It's the same thing with, and dare I say it because I don't know if it's going to be a punishable offense, same thing with the Tide Pod challenge. Notice how every fucking idiot on earth saw one TikTok doing it and they were like, I want to do it too. And then they were still going on and on and on and on like dumbasses up until the point where like the news covered how dangerous it was. And your favorite YouTuber was like, yeah, you're kind of stupid if you ever thought for a second, man, I want to try this. They brought it to an attention. It got banned on TikTok, so now you can't even get views for it anymore. And kids stopped doing it. It saves lives. It helps a lot. It's not an exposure to continue happening. It's an exposure to make it stop. Or at least decreases the amount of times it happens. It's just how humanity has worked. It's dead ass. It's just how humanity. It's just how humanity overall has worked for decades. So I have absolutely no idea why all these VTubers are saying that they are in harm's way now, that they are in danger, when the danger has always been there. It just wasn't exposed. Because people were thinking about doing this already. And some people, I mean, clearly, one guy who was in a group of people that were doing this shit already was the runner-up for the beginning. He already got Yanners, right? Meaning that he already caught one of the originals. Imagine that. Now that she gets her shit doxxed and she gets swatted and shit because of it, he could target Zentrea. He could target Iron Mouse. He could target, like, you know what I'm saying? Idiots, man. They're fucking idiots. I'm sorry. You're stupid for thinking you're in more danger when it gets exposed.
Silvervale, Vey, Zentrea, Hime, and Melody would all echo the same statement, publicly announcing that not only were they disappointed with Nux, but that he was a liar, a clout chaser, and someone that didn't care about any of his friends at VShojo, with Hime saying that the girls had begged for days for this video to be removed.
Obviously, he didn't care. He is a person that is mainly doing the shit for clout. I will give him that. And in this kind of industry, a lot, like a majority of the originals, and I mean, fuck, even the people now, are like, man, fuck your feelings. You have numbers, and I want it. I mean, it circles right around to the shit that, the Demi drama that happened like last month. Or 2 months ago, even. I can't remember how long it was. Bro, that whole thing was just a fucking nothing burger. Like, being in your feels because you got blocked for an opinion on Twitter. We don't have a right to block you. So now we can't block people now. And I'm gonna say this right now too. Since I brought that up, I'm gonna keep it short because that's not the topic of this video. But like, that bitch was hypocritical as fuck for what she was saying towards Demi. There were people like me on the internet that were just like, when we saw the drama, we saw it before any video was coming out. So we sat, like I said, I was like, I don't think Demi's in the wrong here at all. Right? I was sitting there, I was like, I don't think Demi's in the wrong here at all. But this chick is obviously like clout chasing for something. Like she got mad about this. It wasn't soft spoken. It wasn't just a shared opinion. It was literally, it was passive aggression that she was sharing. But Demi's not in the right. I was like, Demi's not in the right for, you know, the shit that she went and did on Twitch. Like that's where she was like in the wrong for, like some of the stuff that she was doing on Twitch, like showing the other person's account and shit on there. Yeah, that was wrong. Don't do that. That's literally a bannable offense. So I shared that, which is a biased standpoint, right? I'm not picking sides. I'm barely picking sides on the whole thing, right? And I literally even started it by saying my personal opinion. Guess what happened? The other bitch wasn't tagged at all. It was literally a reply on a Demi post. So, like 2 weeks later, I went to go like, does this chick even stream? Because I was sitting there, I was like, I'm curious. Does this chick even stream, or was this just like some random? Because I wanted to try my best to like argue that maybe it wasn't a clout chase, you know? Because like I wanted to look at the full details. So I go to click on her account after finding it. I'm blocked on Twitter when I've had no interaction by the other chick at all. Meaning, the chick who is bitching and complaining that Demi blocked her over an opinion and how mean girl she was is blocking other people for an opinion. Even if it doesn't fucking, even if it, like, you know, even if it isn't in full support of Demi, like how mine was. And it's weird that she did that because a lot of drama channels were saying the same, like later on, they were saying the same fucking thing I was. So now if I'm not making a fucking YouTube video giving you exposure, I'm nothing to you, so you block me? Bitch, you're clout chasing. The fuck? Like, and it's funny because her clout chase didn't work. She's still an unknown person. Thank God. I'm not even going to say her name on here. But anyways, that's off topic of this video. So let's continue with the video. I think the main point of what I was saying there was like a lot of people nowadays, but 100% everyone at the start was just fucking clout chasing. They wanted exposure. They wanted everything. Nux does seem like one of those people that want clout. So I'm pretty sure in his situation, yes, it is fuck your feelings. It is gimme numbers. And that he doesn't really truly care about these people. But at the same time, you can't say that what he was doing is wrong. You can't say what he announced to be the overall goal wasn't going to work.
Removed out of fear for their safety, and Project Melody saying he flagrantly disregarded our team's feelings and the facts our security department shared with him. But the biggest response was from Nyaners, who wrote a huge message in her Discord denouncing Nux's actions and expressing how disappointed she was with what he did, saying didn't want to have to type out something stressful like this on what was supposed to be a chill Sunday and my only day off so far this week, but I do not condone the video that Nux has released where he postures himself as our savior and seemingly takes credit for pretty much an entire year's worth of painstaking work done by VShojo's cybersecurity team. I would know that it took that long and took that much work since I was one of the people who unfortunately had to work with them, and I'm incredibly thankful for their help. Whether or not any of the information
I didn't see the video, so I didn't know if he actually did that, where he was just like, I saved VShojo and I helped everybody else on the internet. Like, I don't know, like, it sounds like something Nux would do. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it sounds like something Nux would do. But I kind of don't want to even give a comment on it because I didn't watch the video, so I don't know. But if that is the case, then yeah, that's shitty. Right? However, everybody else's standpoint on how it's harmful and dangerous for him to do that, to expose it on the internet. Oh fuck! If VShojo was going to do it already, though, it's posted on Twitter, and it's not like you and your company aren't famous. The second you guys fucking mentioned it, people are gonna want to do it more. Nux is basically exposing it to YouTube, which would have been covered eventually. Like, god damn, bro.
Gathered helped or not is beside the point, as releasing a video like he did about a very sensitive and potentially dangerous situation that involves me and many of my friends only draws unneeded attention to it for some quick views, when if a video were to be made about this at all, it should have been handled with a lot more care and consideration. But for someone like Nux, who has consistently used my friends for clickbait views and has done things like try to bait my friend into watching the Logan Paul Suicide Forest video on stream, and secretly recorded a private call with another one of my friends.
Yep, never mind. Yeah, okay, never mind. Yeah, he is clickbait. Like, it's 100% clickbaiting for views and using them in thumbnails and shit. Like, yeah, I see it now. Yeah, so I was 100% right on my assumption. How I forgot that he actually did that shit, and then Mujin literally just showed his YouTube channel where you can see it currently happening. So yeah, 100% Nux didn't really give a fuck, but at the same time, it's not like that video was dangerous. It exposes it. It's different. Let's be smart, please.
Friends without permission and then proceeded to use said call to make a video, it's clear
like
that our safety or feelings about any of this is not the priority. The past year was hell for me due to the situation, and it's straight up painful to see it being used in a video like this that doesn't treat the issue carefully at all. A video that he was even told not to release since it could potentially be harmful to us and many other VTubers who were targeted. Responding publicly draws even more attention to it, so I have to choose between sitting quietly and seeing him receive pats on the back for coming to our rescue when his video could encourage even more harassment, or calling him out and hoping he retracts what he said and takes the video down before it gains more traction. If he wanted to actually protect people, he could have made a general PSA video about how to keep your information safe.
Why would it? How would him saying no, don't do it, encourage it to happen more? That means the internet's just dumb as fuck, which I mean it is, but how does that encourage more? It's an exposure. It's a warning. Like, if I made a video saying like, hey, some people just started doing this new thing, and yes, you can get arrested for it. Here's the proof of arrest from these guys, or whatever the fuck. Brother, if I heard it's like it's just like that fucking like you know that thing that blew up with the check fraud shit on TikTok? When people were like, this is an easy way to get a whole bunch of money. People were like, oh my god, free money? And so they went and they did check fraud. A lot of TikTokers without knowing the true consequence. When you could just look up the fucking law and see if, or just, you know, think with 2 more brain cells than you normally do on a daily basis. Don't know how many people actually do that. But like, they would commit check fraud. And then when people would come out and expose like, yo, you guys realize this is check fraud, right? Like, this is already a thing and the bank is coming for you. Right? You might go to prison. You know that, right? You see how fast, like, do you see how fast the fucking the shit died because of its exposure? Also, thank you for the follow, Link Anims. But you see how fast that shit died down because of the fact that people were exposing what it truly was. So that's why I'm saying this, like, what Nux did, it could be wrong because of the fact that he was in fact trying to clickbait. However, what he overall did when he exposed the action happening, when he exposed the overall action happening on the internet, and then showing the fact that somebody got arrested for doing it, because it is an illegal offense. Several different charges, in fact. It's not going to promote it more because it was already fucking happening. Let's be smart.
or warn people about things like the
That
fake
was
VShojo
crazy,
email
yeah.
situation in a way that didn't reveal a ton of unneeded
He
sensitive
is a
information and
clickbaiting
paint himself
person.
as a
He is
hero.
someone who
He
was
doesn't
doing
care
it
about
for
helping
clout.
us. If he did,
So
he would
you
have
can be
listened to
mad about
several of our
that.
concerns when
However,
it came to how he
you
treats
can't be
people and
mad
uses
about
them
the
for
video.
content. This video ultimately makes things worse for us. Anything for views though,
Or
I guess.
its
My heart
overall
goes
goal.
out to anyone else who was affected by any harassment, and please be careful with giving out your information online. So obviously, this was one hell of a statement. This wasn't just about Nux releasing a video that the talents at VShojo didn't want released. It seems like they've had a problem with him for a long time with how he uses them for content. None of this had ever been talked about publicly, and it came as a shock. I mean, these people collabed all the time. It seemed like they were friends. Nux, on the other hand, would keep his statement shorter than Nyanner's, but would still manage to drop some pretty big bombshells, saying, "This has been a stressful week for many, and I'm confident and proud of the community and the efforts that went towards resolving things efficiently. My latest video concerned someone that was maliciously impersonating VShojo and managed to trick individuals into giving personal information and doxing themselves and getting
Several
swatted. With
individuals.
the efforts of everyone involved, I believe this situation can be put behind us with the culprit behind these attacks having been brought to light. I do still fully stand by the need for raising awareness of phishing scams. I'm incredibly glad VShojo released a very well constructed cybersecurity statement addressing the situation, and you should all read it. In regards to my video, I worked with VShojo on this for a while, as they mentioned in their statement in response to my video. I did show them my video before posting it, and I was not requested to refrain from uploading. The rumors that I had posted it regardless of being asked not to are untrue. In fact, leading up to the events of posting it, I was a part of a 4-hour conversation with their chief cybersecurity officer, overseen by an executive of VShojo and one of the members of the group.
True.
I sincerely apologize if my actions have caused any undue stress on anyone. It was
Like I said earlier, it's like I get that because of how we know how VShojo ran their shit in the background, behind their other talents' backs and shit. I get that they probably didn't fucking tell or talk to or bring to light to the other members currently in it. You know, like, hey, this is happening. We promote Nux doing it. Don't say anything about it. Praise him or whatever the fuck. Like, they probably weren't saying that shit. But I feel like they were probably they probably kept it to themselves and had that one talent member in there. So I understand if the other people have their opinion. Iron Mouse was the first to have her opinion, and then everyone else followed up with the same negative opinion, which still didn't really make sense. But it's like, because one of the talents were already in the group, that means one of them out of all of them were being fake as fuck about not knowing. Like, you knew. You're just following a trend. I don't know why you're hating off of a trend. You already knew it and you praised it privately.
was not my intention. I was only hoping to contribute to
That's
keeping
the only
the
credit I
community
can really
safe.
give
With
Nux
every
for this
statement
stuff.
someone would make during this incident, things would somehow make less sense. But regardless, for now, Nux did mention that VShojo released a very well constructed cybersecurity statement addressing the situation. It was actually released just a few hours before this twit longer, and it would be after they stealthily deleted their reply to his initial video tweet. But that's not all. This new cybersecurity statement had a completely different tone from that first reply. They would say things like, VShojo does not endorse any statements or views by parties that have no official affiliation to VShojo. Adding, the methods used to attack the
And
other
how long
VTubers
ago
were
did this
confirmed to be
happen?
unrelated to phishing and
I haven't heard
impersonating
anything
VShojo. As mentioned
extra
before,
after
the fake
all
domain
this.
was created on October 14th, 2021 and survived for less than a week, and the other VTubers incidents happened outside of this time window. As mentioned before, thanks to partners, VShojo confirms there are only 2 victims of this campaign, referring to both Nux and Saki Nightshade. Things were getting very weird. It's like they were completely discrediting the person they were congratulating when the video came out. But things only got weirder from here. After VShojo had released their official cybersecurity statement, Nyanners would have this to say in her Discord. VShojo was forced into making a statement on the matter after asking him repeatedly not to release this video. They had to issue corrections to the video since he would not, and there were several inaccuracies within the video, and had to word the statement carefully to not anger his large following and make us a target for even more harassment. I feel especially backed into a corner as I'm afraid to say anything even more publicly than I already am because I know it would invite more hate. I'm exhausted of pissing people off and having them hurl threats and shit at me and my family members constantly constantly, so saying anything about this is scary for me. It sucks and I don't know what to do. Nux chose to release the video knowing that VShojo did not want him to and told him it was a horribly bad idea. Myself and my family members experienced heavy harassment pretty much all year, and the entire situation had to be kept a secret, and I had to continue on as normal, acting happy even when I was terrified, so that I would not draw more attention to them and encourage them. Now he releases a video making everything public like this in a way that is careless and dangerous to many people. It's mind-boggling to me. It's like making a video about how to make a bomb and showing it to a bunch of 12-year-olds. I don't want anyone to go and harass him or threaten him in any way. Please do not do anything like that. I just wanted to be able to finally say something because cat's out of the bag anyway, and I'm also tired of sitting and watching him do fucked up things to my friends. So far, you probably are confused as hell, and that's normal because everyone was at the time. How is it that the official VShojo account had given its stamp of approval to Nux and thanked him for working with them when the talents were so clearly against the idea of a video? Something simply wasn't adding up at all. Something was missing, a big piece of the puzzle, and no one really knew what the hell it was.
Of their talents,
at this point, though, Nux as a target was fair game. According to every VShojo talent, he had done something horrendous. So of course, just like with any cancellation, other people started piling up on him, talking about their bad experiences with him. And very few people actually took a step back and said, hey guys, listen, maybe we're going a bit too far here. Maybe we don't have all the facts. The situation was getting so critical that Nux had to release a formal apology. But in this apology video, he would show Discord logs between him and the cybersecurity expert that VShojo had hired, Phoenix. He would reveal that these logs were in a group chat with one of the VShojo girls and Gunrun, the CEO. And these
Honestly, I don't see why he blanked it out. He should, like, nowadays or whatever, maybe not even nowadays, bro, just to prove a fucking point of how fucking two-faced that fucking talent member was, who was in there reading the shit and also praising him. He should have just released the name. Because I dead ass want to know who the fuck it was, to be honest. Because now we're just sitting on speculation of like who it could be, but we do know that it was one of their talents. Still, I mean, like, I don't really, doesn't give Nux the full stamp of approval here when it comes to a majority of his actions. However, in this situation, I feel like he was in the right.
These logs, you could see that Nux was working on a video and Phoenix was fully aware of it. But instead of telling him, please don't post this, you're putting our talents in danger, he would be sent a draft of the video and he'd say this: not trying to downplay or anything, I really appreciate that you were providing info at 7:03. Do you think you'd be willing to blur out the word blank from the screenshot for the purposes of denying them notoriety? To which Nux said, okay, I can do that. Phoenix would then say, I appreciate that you are doing the public service announcement and that isn't the problem at all. My comment is narrowly specifically about praising that one fan that reached out. I am 99% certain that is a fellow member of the harassment gang and not a fan. So Phoenix's problem wasn't the video at all. He was completely down with the idea. He just thought that that fan who had leaked the doxer to Nux was actually part of the harassment gang and Nux was being socially engineered. At some point, Nux would say, honestly, I think this video will be helpful to you as well. If you need help with anything, feel free to reach out. To which Phoenix would say, thanks a lot. Would you be willing to include a link to a written response by us as well? It's not going to be anything against the video. It's going to be more about making sure people don't think that contract language is real and answer some likely FAQs that will result from all this. To which Nux said, of course. And of course, as you can see, this was their reply that they had deleted shortly afterwards. This video added even more confusion to the whole situation, because from these logs, it seemed like two people were working together, and the CEO was very well aware of it, and one of the girls that had called Nux out publicly was in this group chat seeing everything, very well aware of the fact that he was going to post this video. And thanks to Fruit leaking her DMs with Nux at some point on Twitter, she would accidentally reveal who that VShojo talent was, and it would turn out to be Project Melody. In these DMs, we can see Fruit and Nux arguing, and at some point Nux says, I'm not sure what you mean. I had a group chat with Melody, Gunrun, and their head cybersecurity guy, and I showed them the video beforehand. They had a few notes, which I changed before uploading, and they asked me to link a statement they would write in the description. But that's so weird. As you saw earlier, Melody had posted a tweet calling him out, saying, I'm hurt Nux posted his doxing vid. He flagrantly disregarded our team's feelings and the facts our security department shared with him. I trusted and defended him only to feel secondary to getting clicks. If he meant to raise awareness to protect streamers, he would have corrected it. But she, as well as Gunrun and Phoenix, were in a call with Nux for 4 hours. This wasn't just confusion anymore. Someone was lying here. After these DMs would leak thanks to Fruit, Project Melody would delete her tweet because of the hate she would start getting. And shortly afterwards, apologies would start raining in. Fruit would say, Nux apologized to me privately yesterday as I apologized to him for subtweeting, and others would follow suit. except one person in particular who was practically seen as the biggest backstabber in all this, Project Melody. She didn't make any public statements or apologies regarding this incident, and as far as we know...
So Fruit and Melody were the two that were like, all right, so one of them was in the group, but the other one knew about it as well later on, and they were in call praising him. Glad we know now. I'm glad this is coming to light and leaking. Y'all, I'm sorry, like, I respect the OGs. I respect the fact that you guys come a long way and do what you do, and like you made it and you do the things you do and you bring people entertainment and shit. That's fine, right? But in this situation, how are you okay with the biggest fucking backstab in history? This was a different kind of backstab from the fucking Cinder shit, bro. Like, the Cinder shit was horrendous and obviously a whole different, topic from this. But like, yo, this was the original famous backstab, bro. This is literally me saying, like, I support a movement and then going, like, it's like if I said privately to somebody, I was like, yo, I love your content. And then I turn on my stream and I'm like, I fucking hate their content, bro. Fucking hate it. They do all these bad things. Like, let me tell you the bad things I know they do. It's like, bro, what? That's fake as fuck. Yikes, bro.
Did not do.
And like I said, the other talents probably didn't know because they don't fucking, like, surprisingly, nobody communicates with each other. So, I understand the other people's perspectives on it because of the fact that they were left in the dark and they thought that, like, they probably expressed and thought, hey, he did this completely by himself. When in reality, he was working with VShojo, and two of the talents already fucking knew about it.
Do so privately either. Nux has never mentioned this. It was especially weird since Nux had collabed with her the most out of anyone in VShojo, and they've had a multi-year friendship. But by that point, the drama had been going on for quite a while now. The talents clearly just wanted to move on and get back to creating content, and it seemed like the community was heading in that direction too. But as things were finally starting to heal, Gunrun would make it a point to post this article on medium.com saying, "Addressing miscommunications, I hope this clears the air on the confusion, let's move forward together and not spread hate." This would be an article attempting to show that VShojo already knew about the security accusations, did not condone Nux in any way, and was always behind their talents. While of course acknowledging some wrongdoings in the process, but they would refute the allegation that VShojo gave Nux approval to release his video, saying that the reality is that VShojo never at any point said that he had permission, nor were we asked. VShojo was given limited time to suggest edits and create a statement. Politeness in Twitter reply text was misconstrued as approval/endorsement. Suggestions for edits were ignored beyond blurring of some names, and Phoenix makes efforts to educate Nux on why this is a bad move, which are ignored. But this wasn't just it. Gunrun also added more fuel to the fire by saying, "Staff's context. There is a negative history of interaction between VShojo and Nux that led us to proceed with extreme caution." Something that had yet again come out of nowhere because, as I said earlier, people were under the impression that they were all friends. Gunrun would then post the full conversations that Nux had shown in his video.
Whoa, wait, hold on. It's not disinfo, it's misinfo, first of all. So they had some issues.
And in the first...
They had issues here and there. And it turned more into a debate about said issues, but they overall praised the video, so I don't understand.
First one, it would be Phoenix imploring Nux not to fall for the bait of that one fan who reached out to him, because it's not random. Their MO is to do this good cop, bad cop thing. But Nux wasn't having any of it.
He was reading it anyway.
He was convinced it was a fan, he wasn't being socially engineered
I sat there and I just read it quietly.
At any point. This showed us that Nux was stubborn, and even though he understood some aspects of doxing, was very naive, sure. But never at any point in time did Phoenix express that he didn't want Nux to release the video, only sending him timestamps to change things. Gunrun would conclude this by saying, "We hope clearing the air here with our context helps put this drama behind all of us. I'm understanding of Nux's stance and hope our detailing from our side helps put everything into context. We do not wish to see this matter escalate further, do not send hate or harassment to anyone. We're looking forward to continuing work as usual and hope all fandoms can see the many perspectives of this complicated interaction between VShojo and Nux. Thanks everyone for reading, Gunrun." Of course, as is the trend with this controversy, people were left even more confused after reading this. When you say something like, "Thank you, Nux, for working with us," how is that not a way of you saying that you approve of the video? It just didn't make any sense. Finally, Nux would post a video titled "Moving Forward" on his second channel and would detail how throughout the entire week of him releasing the video, he was barely sleeping, having anxiety attacks, and overall really showing us that no one here, including the VShojo talents, had a good time. But even though I'm sure many people were hoping that things would die down there were still way too many questions surrounding this whole incident. A lot of things simply didn't make any sense, causing many YouTubers like Turkey Tom to make videos about this whole mystery surrounding this incident and garnering over 1.2 million views. People weren't satisfied with how this concluded, and you can see that the top reply on Gunrun's post to Medium was Omni saying, "At least apologize to the dude? He got dragged for the past 2 days, and the deleted thank you tweet made it even worse. Nux took accountability, only fair to do the same, methinks." People had many theories as to what had happened, how this miscommunication could have occurred. One of the most common ones that was even mentioned in Turkey Tom's video about the situation was that Nux Taku was in the process of founding his own VTuber agency at the time. VShojo's management saw this as a threat, so they took the opportunity to character assassinate him in public, making him seem very problematic
I didn't know
making
that.
other VTubers not want to associate with him. Now look, I'll admit, when I first heard this theory, I thought, come on, this is way too far-fetched. But you have to remember that the VTubing scene back then was so much smaller than it is today. And Nux was at the absolute top. The guy had 2 million subscribers as a VTuber. He knew everyone in the scene. No one didn't know who he was. He could have so easily made an agency that directly competed with VShojo. But would VShojo's management, as well as Project Melody, his friend of multiple years, truly stoop this low in order to take down a potential competitor? Honestly, as someone who's covered the VTubing industry for a while now, that's not even the craziest thing I heard this week. But I think if we're going to take a more realistic approach with all the evidence we currently have, then what most likely happened is that VShojo was totally down with the idea of letting Nux post the video. This tweet was sincere. However, when management saw how much this pissed off the talent, how they were completely against the idea of this video, they did a full 180, deleted the tweet, and backstabbed Nux into being the fall guy so that they wouldn't piss off their talents. When reading Nyanner's messages, it seemed like she had a very strong negative impression of Nux, saying things like, "He doesn't care about helping us. If he did, he would have listened to several of our concerns when it came to how he treats people and uses them for content." Something echoed by other VShojo talents when it came to criticizing him. It seemed like someone was getting some very wrong information, and maybe Nux wasn't the only victim here, the talents were too, they just had no idea. Regardless, back then, no one really bothered delving that deep, instead preferring to go either Team Nux or Team VShojo, with Team Nux claiming that Nux had done nothing wrong, that he was the victim here, and with Team VShojo being convinced that Nux is a clout chaser that doesn't care about anyone but himself. The whole thing would truly stain VShojo's reputation and show them as unprofessional. How could they ever compete with the likes of Hololive when they never had such weird petty drama? How could they compete with Nijisanji when none of the talents would ever dare to make a public statement criticizing another VTuber like that? Maybe talent freedom was a mistake. With just one controversy, VShojo had gone from hopeful contender to yet another talent agency that could never compete with the professionalism of Japan. But hey, while this would definitely be damaging to their reputation and be brought up multiple times by haters in the future, the internet has very short-term memory. Give it 1 or 2 weeks, and even the most major dramas get forgotten. And so after 2021 had ended, VShojo had somewhat been able to put itself back on the map in a very strong way. During 2022, Iron Mouse, a VTuber under VShojo, would grow so quickly that even the mainstream outside of the VTubing community was made aware of her existence. On February 5th, 2022, she would hold her first ever subathon, streaming for 30 days straight and garnering over 171,000 Twitch subscribers. That equates to over $850,000 before Twitch takes their cut. Articles like this were being written about her, saying that she was breaking all kinds of Twitch records. By that point, you'd see people who didn't even know what VTubing was hearing about Iron Mouse's success. And if you didn't, well, VShojo made it a goal to make you hear about her and every other talent in the roster, enlisting Crunchyroll to interview every single one of them while having them talk about their favorite animes of all time. But that's not all. When it came to VTuber-related awards, the VShojo girls were dominating, with the Streamy Awards having 5 nominees and 4 of them being from VShojo. That's not all though, because the Streamer Awards would have 4 nominees and 3 of them would end up being from VShojo. They wouldn't win that year, but it was still very notable. But regardless, the efforts of these talents, including Iron Mouse's very successful subathon, the VShojo girls being nominated practically everywhere, and VShojo's efforts to make marketing a priority ended up being somewhat of a success.
Like on the map,
because the CEO
VShojo
was able to raise over $11 million for the company. More specifically, during seed funding led by Athos Capital with participation from GFR Funds and Green Bay Ventures. Yes, VShojo, a VTuber talent agency, had somehow secured an 8-figure funding round from venture capital, infamously known for wanting to get their money back no matter what, and also only known to invest in companies with long-term growth potential. They didn't just invest in anything, which made many believe, well, shit, VShojo must be doing something right compared to other agencies because wow, that's very impressive.
Yeah.
And Gunrun, of course, with this announcement showed huge confidence, saying VTubers are the future of the content creator industry. Adding, since the medium is built upon animated personas, it is more accessible and scalable than being a traditional creator, especially as the technology becomes more widespread. With the funding from Athos Capital, we are now in a better position to support and grow talent in this market with more innovative technology, extensive promotion, and the ability to assist with content creation and distribution. So this money was going to go towards specifically growing their existing talent roster, pretty much any VTuber's dream at the time. And speaking of VTubers, a few months after raising $11 million, VShojo would add 2 more talents to its roster, marking their first major expansion since recruiting Veibe in 2021, adding both Keisan and Amamiya Nazuna to their roster. And what made these talents special is that they were based in Japan and spoke Japanese most of the time on their streams, showing us that VShojo wasn't just interested in English speakers, they were interested in this talent-first approach globally, with Gunrun saying that this expansion will break down barriers in VTubing. And it kinda did. On her first stream after joining VShojo, Amamiya Nazuna would get over 30,000 concurrent viewers on her Twitch stream, while Keisan would also receive just as many, if not a bit more, with her YouTube debut being at almost 1 million views today. At the same time, VShojo wasn't lying. They were truly putting those $11 million to use, putting their existing talent at the center of some very cool projects, be it animated music videos or just straight up general marketing. By the end of 2022, VShojo was yet again seen as an agency that could someday compete directly with Hololive and Nijisanji if they weren't already. Yeah, sure, they've been through a very big controversy with Nux that put everything into question, but whatever, that's behind us. They got 2 more talents, raised over $11 million, and were doing some amazing things that made everyone else envious. Things could only get better from here, right? Well, you know how it goes. Good times don't last forever. And very shortly after 2023 had begun, VShojo would find itself in such an unpleasant situation that to many, it seemed like this was going to be their biggest existential threat yet. Harry Potter is a series of books that needs no introduction. It's critically acclaimed across the world. The same can be said about the movies that were based on those same books. This, of course, resulted in having a very large and extremely passionate fan base all across the globe. The person behind these books is none other than J.K. Rowling, and for most of her career, she was loved by pretty much anyone who loved Harry Potter. Her humble background, as well as her authenticity, truly made it hard to dislike her. But then one day, just like many other celebrities, she decided to take the decision of splitting her audience in half by becoming political. You see, in 2011, the Syrian population would revolt against its current regime. The result would be a civil war that would last for over a decade, destroying huge chunks of the country and spreading Syrian refugees all across the world. It would be dubbed the Syrian refugee crisis. And at a certain point, political voices in Europe specifically would start expressing that the infrastructure of their countries could barely support their current population, that they were not fit to take in so many millions of refugees, trying their best to stop them. J.K. Rowling would see this and would take the decision to use her platform to show solidarity with every single refugee coming to her country, tweeting, "If you can't imagine yourself in one of those boats," the boats the refugees were using, "you have something missing. They are dying for a life worth living. #refugees welcome." Half her audience found her to be hypocritical, saying things like, "Well, if you want refugees, then why don't you take any in your massive mansion?" And the other half was fully in support, praising her and really admiring the fact that she would use her platform for such a humanitarian cause. 5 years later, though, J.K. Rowling would take on a stance that wouldn't just split her audience in half, it would more accurately shatter them into 1,000 pieces. She would criticize an article for using the term people who menstruate, saying, "I'm sure there used to be a word for those people. Someone help me out. Wumben, wimpend, wumid," implying that there's a word for this, it's called women, and that people who menstruate is a silly term. People, specifically the audience that had supported her so staunchly during her 2015 moral stance, were outraged. But J.K. Rowling doubled down, tripled down, quadrupled down. Honestly, she went all the way to the moon, saying things like, if sex isn't real, there's no same-sex attraction. If sex isn't real, the lived reality of women globally is erased. I know and love trans people, but erasing the concept of sex removes the ability of many to meaningfully discuss their lives. It isn't hate to speak the truth. Over the years, she wouldn't let this topic go, and this would result in her creating a substantial amount of haters that used to be her ex-fans, ones that were particularly very loud on the internet. So on September 16th, 2020, when Hogwarts Legacy, a game developed by Warner Bros., was announced, Harry Potter fans all around the world were extremely excited because this actually looked good. It wasn't one of those crap movie games that looked like they were done on a budget over a year. You'd actually be able to explore Hogwarts here. And
now, I mainly had nothing to say about the J.K. Rowling thing because I was told that she was being phobic. I'm not sure if I can say like the full thing here. But I was told that she was being phobic of the people. But if that's all she said, it sounds like a mixture of things. You know, it sounds like a mixture of things. Like I don't agree with it, and I really wish she just kept her mouth shut about politics. But it's like it's not like I hate those people. I fucking hate them. Like no, it wasn't like that at all. So that's interesting that that's how people took it, and that's interesting that that's how J.K. Rowling. I'm surprised that that's even topics that she went for. Very confusing.
Actually become a wizard just like in the movies and the books. But when the game was heading towards its release on February 10th, 2023,
anyone that sees this video and says that I'm phobic as well, just for saying like I can see where people are coming from, but at the same time that tweet didn't even look that bad, you're fucking stupid. You're fucking stupid, all right? If you hate me, click off. That's all I gotta say.
those J.K. Rowling haters had another idea. This post on Gaming Circle Jerk would be one of many.
I support everybody.
A friendly reminder from your mod team that this woman is a TERF, and anyone who pledges to support her monetarily is also a transphobe. TERF being an acronym meaning Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminist, a term that J.K. Rowling
I hate when
used
people become
openly in order
political
to describe
too.
her beliefs.
Politics don't even
post was
fucking
made by
matter
a
anymore.
mod of the Gaming Circle Jerk subreddit and drew over 4,000 comments. This wasn't the only subreddit or community that echoed these statements. And so when the game came out and actually had an astounding success, those people boycotting the game shifted their attention to the people who bought it. More specifically, people who were making content about it, helping spread the word about how good of a game it was. This is when the Hogwarts Legacy harassment campaign would begin. And you had people like this individual make an entire website where you could put the username of a streamer and it would tell you if they played that wizard game. This was taken to the absolute extreme. And here's just one example. The channel Girlfriend Reviews features a couple playing games, and the chat was harassing them so much throughout their playthrough that the girlfriend in question started crying and ended the stream. Bear in mind, this was a streamer who had a donation link to a charity that helped the LGBT directly, but these fanatics made no differentiation. And one of the people who had suffered the—
And that's stupid. All right, okay, attack the creator as much as you want. Right? And that's not me promoting it. I'm just saying, if you got problems with the creator saying like dumb shit or whatever, then so be it. You know, that's your problem with the said creator. But when it comes to the content creator, the streamer, the whatever the fuck, just the people playing the game in general, bro, they're just trying to play the game. They're a fan of the series. It wasn't the series' fault that it was created by somebody who has an opinion that's controversial, right? People still love Harry Potter. It's not an issue. I can still, like, brother, hear me out. I have a family member. All right, I have a family member who is trans. They've been trans for years, decades even, right? They've been known they've been trans since fucking 10 years old. They are like 22, 23 right now, and they're still trans. They're going through the process. I congratulate them dearly for going through the process right now. You know what I'm saying? But guess what? They watch the Harry Potter movies. Crazy, I know. They hate J.K. Rowling. They don't like her, but they still watch the movies. It's crazy how it's genuinely crazy. It's almost like you can hate the creator, but love the actual content being thrown into your face. Insane, I know. Sorry, it's just the truth. Like, brother, like, I mean, if that's literally, if we're gonna go that far, then let me say this too. Yo, anybody who plays Minecraft, anyone who plays Minecraft is also a bad person. Anybody who still plays Minecraft is a bad person too. Y'all know what Notch did? Y'all know what Notch said? You play Minecraft, you're a horrible person. If we want to go this far. Just saying. Just saying. Just saying. You want to go to like nowadays extreme events too? Okay. Anybody that plays Roblox is a horrible person too. Y'all know the shit that's been happening with that recently? Yeah. Yeah. We want to go this far. We want to attack people based on what fucking games they play, right? Just because they had nothing to do with the creator, but since it was created by a person that was so bad, you know, that makes you a horrible person too, right? So it's, hey, if we're going this far, don't play Roblox, don't play Minecraft, don't play like, they just don't like, oh, just make sure to look into the creator and give a fuck about politics 24/7 before you play a game. Fucking hypocrites, bro.
The most from harassment and other disgusting things in relation to her playing the game was none other than the VShojo talent Silvervale, being absolutely harassed to tears just for having played the game. Here's a clip of that in which he describes what she's been going through just for having launched that game on stream. Watch.
And harassment and doxing and people doxing my friends and like so much horrible, vile things.
That's horrible,
all for
bro.
streaming a fucking video game.
So this wasn't just harassment. This was doxing, attempts to dox her personal information, successful attempts to maybe dox her friends. I don't want to imagine the things she was receiving in DMs,
terrible.
for example.
I feel
and this
for
isn't
her
just
so
some
much, bro.
crying. This is intense crying. Like, she's been going through it. Of course, some of the amazing individuals who are behind this movement would see this clip on Twitter and would have some very productive things to say. Like, this is a volcano lava.
All right, let's see. This is a volcano lava hot take, but this action should be encouraged. If all cis people experience the same amount of hatred marginalized groups receive every day, they'll come to the realization that transphobes are evil individuals. Huh? What kind of harassment have you, as a person, gone through? You basically said that it's okay to commit illegal actions because it's protecting the LGBT. Are you dense?
A hot take, but this action should be encouraged.
I can't with it. This is why I
plus
try
cry
to stay
louder
off
plus
Twitter.
maybe listen to trans and Jewish people. But what was really interesting here was the approach that both VShojo and some of its talents
What
took
the
when
fuck?
Silvervale was practically at one of the lowest points of her content creation career. One of the only people who would speak out in support of Silvervale was actually Ironmouse, saying nobody deserves to feel threatened and live in fear every day of their life. That is not right, specifying that there are ways to support the LGBTQ+ in positive ways, while hoping that people become a little kinder to each other. But here's where things get very tricky. Around the time this harassment campaign was taking place, Fruit, who is another VShojo talent, would tweet, "It costs me $0 every day to be kind and accept people for who they are. So for every like this tweet gets, I'm donating $1 to Mermaids, a charity that supports gender diverse children." Seeing that no one except for Iron Mouse had said anything about Silvervale being harassed, and this was the closest thing that Fruit had said about this situation, people immediately assumed that this was Fruit subtweeting Silvervale, giving her sort of a middle finger, so to speak. Now, of course, Fruit would quote tweet this tweet 12 hours later and specify, "My twin brother means the world to me more than anyone. It means a lot to me to support and protect people like him any way I can. If there's a better transgender supporting charity to donate to, I can just switch. It's not that deep." So yeah, Fruit probably saw everything going on surrounding Hogwarts Legacy and decided, you know what, instead of hate, let's just donate. Let's just use money to donate to this cause. But of course, by that time, it was too late. People had already made up their mind about this tweet, and it made many assume, oh, wait a second, is there trouble at home at VShojo? Are the talents not all friends? What else are they hiding from us? And what didn't help at all is that during this time period, VShojo had said nothing. They were in complete and utter radio silence. They had not come out in support of Silvervale. They had not commented on Fruit's tweet. And it made people start questioning, why is Silvervale even in an agency? Because right now it's as if she's an indie VTuber being harassed all alone and not having the support of anyone, including her own agency. Because in the end, she was a VShojo talent. And her being harassed like this was ruining her reputation in some way, which also in turn ruined VShojo's reputation and the talents within it. In fact, regarding Silvervale, the only thing we'd hear would only be a couple months later in a shock announcement that no one was expecting. It would be VShojo posting this on April 26, 2023, saying, "To our community, Silvervale and Vey have chosen not to renew their contracts at VShojo. We respect their decision and want to thank them for helping make VShojo what it is today. They will also retain their IP so they can continue as the creators you love. We wish them the best on the next leg of their journey. Sincerely, the VShojo team."
Hey, all I'm saying is I can't really get harassed like that. I can't really get harassed like that. Or at least people will fail to realize that that harassment won't even really have an effect on me. Most of my personal information is already out there. You just gotta look for it, you know. And if you don't like it, go fuck yourself. For one. For two, I'm making it very clear. I'm making it very fucking clear. From this point on, I do whatever the fuck I want. I do not get controlled by a community. I will call you the fuck out by name if you try to control me. You will be exposed for being a piece of shit if you try to control my actions and what I want to do. I'm making that very clear right now, right? And as cringe as this sounds, bro, as cringe as this sounds, I'm already a part of a fucking community and a group that is willing to take heavy action if you even come close to threatening my life. Right? Don't try me. Don't fucking try me. All right? Y'all don't know what it's like out here. Acting tough on the internet, don't realize you're talking to fucking people that live in dangerous parts of the fucking world. All right? Let me get that clear right now. That's all I can legally say. But don't try me.
So look, by 2023, when it came to graduations,
it might just
people
be
were
your
used to how
last tweet.
Sanji and Hololive did them, which was one at a time, spaced out, with a graduation stream in which talents say goodbye. This was an absolute shock on every level, not to mention that a founding member and the first external member to have joined the company were both leaving. And as soon as this announcement had come out, they would quote tweet it with this image of her in Silvervale saying, "Indie bitches." Naturally, seeing how rare a double graduation was and seeing this quote tweet made many people question what was going on and come up with conspiracy theories. So hours later, they would clarify, "Since this post got so much traction and people are speculating as to why I have left and blaming other talent for it, it's nothing like that at all. I left because new contracts didn't make any financial sense to me." So you see, again, there was this rumor that the talent at VShojo was not in agreement, that the girls were fighting, especially with the conspiracy theories running rampant over Fruit's tweet in regards to Silvervale. They would continue, "I can't speak for Silver because we didn't leave together, we were just announced on the same day. Can't say much else because of legal shit and stuff, but please be kind to everyone involved. Don't make weird rumors up to control your own narrative. TLDR, left because new contract, no good. And for all indies, always hire a lawyer to read through any contract, however minor it may seem. I know it's a scary process to think about, but you'll be so fucking thankful down the line. Hire lawyers that know what the industry standards are. Okay, have a nice day, you fuckers. So this was her attempt to completely kill any speculation or conspiracy theories surrounding her graduation. She just wanted to move on as soon as possible. Silverveil would echo the same exact statement on her stream, saying this, watch.
Anyone missed the announcement? Vay and I are both leaving. We were announced the same day.
Honestly, good for Silver,
but
bro.
it has nothing to do with each other. It was independent. We are just being announced on the exact same day.
So this whole thing was kind of messy. Why announce two talents at the same time and have to make them both make separate statements saying, guys, it just so happens that we both wanted to leave the company and they announced us on the same day. It was definitely a shock, but hey, at least VShojo kept their word. They would be keeping their IP. This wasn't a graduation in the traditional sense because nothing would be changing. They would continue streaming just like they did before joining VShojo. And so as soon as people were starting to finally process this news and maybe even start to move on, just a few days later, VShojo would come up with another bombshell saying, to our community, we'd like to inform you that Nyaners has decided not to renew her contract with VShojo. We fully support her decision and are grateful for her contributions to the growth of VShojo. Nyaners will retain her IP, ensuring she can carry on as the beloved creator you know. We wish her the best in her future endeavors. Sincerely, the VShojo team. This was another complete shock. Okay, listen, one founding member, the first member to join, and another founding member in the span of 1 week? Nyaners would release her own statement saying, after much consideration, I've decided not to renew my contract with VShojo and return to being an indie. This decision is my own and not a reflection of my relationship with any of the other members, and it is something I have been seriously deliberating for a while. I'm deeply appreciative of all the opportunities that being a member of VShojo has presented over the past 2 years and wish everyone, staff and fellow talent alike, all the best. While this change likely comes as a surprise, it won't change who I am, any of my content, or who I choose to collaborate with moving forward. My streams will continue as usual. I'm looking forward to seeing what the future will bring in this new chapter. Thank you all for your support and understanding. Nyaners. So again, dispelling the rumor that no, this is not because other talent in the agency is pissing me off or is being toxic. This is my own decision and I'm leaving with no drama. I just want to put this behind me. But how can we just put this behind us and move on so easily when so many members had left in just the span of a few days? VShojo had 10 members by this point, and they had essentially lost 30% of their talent roster just like that. If the talents were truly happy, then that wouldn't have happened. So what the hell was going on? More importantly though, was anyone else going to leave as well? And that's when people understood there was a risk that Iron Mouse could leave. And if she did, this talent agency would have, without exaggeration, imploded in just a few months afterwards. So people were obviously concerned. They loved VShojo, they loved the talent there, they didn't want to see it implode. So many were asking Iron Mouse, hey, like, are you gonna stay? Are you gonna leave? To which she responded. This is a clip that was in False ID's video from over 2 years ago, in which she says that she's currently negotiating. Watch.
Have to make this very large. Good news or bad news? I don't know. I don't know if it's good news or bad news. Leaving VShojo, guys, I'm still in contract negotiations. So
this definitely didn't reassure her audience or anyone who was a fan of VShojo. Iron Mouse was in contract negotiations. 3 talents had just left. If she leaves too, we can safely say the agency is not really going anywhere. So without exaggeration, it was facing an existential threat. And seeing how often people would see VTuber agencies establish themselves then literally fall apart within a few months, the same fate awaiting VShojo didn't really seem that far-fetched. Except it was, because shortly after this, in the summer of 2023, VShojo would begin a new chapter that would thrust it straight into its golden age, where it finally became a global contender. One could say that VShojo started taking their first steps towards a golden age barely 10 days after Nyaners had officially left the company. Yes, even though the entire agency's future was being put into question, they managed to surprise everyone on May 11th, 2023, when they would announce that they'd be adding the first English-speaking VTuber to their roster since Vay in 2021. And that VTuber would be Henya the Genius. Someone who already was very beloved and had one hell of a fan base in another corporation and had left it recently, not being able to keep her IP and restarting in VShojo. And one of the many things that made her special is that she was both fluent in English and Japanese, which helped her further bridge the gap between VShojo and their Japanese subsidiary. But the agency wasn't done here. Just barely a few months later, they would also recruit yet another new member by the name of Giga, another independent VTuber that was already established and had a fan base that was going to follow her into VShojo. What made these two talents special is that they weren't problematic at all. If anything, they were wholesome and well liked by the community. This was VShojo heading in the right direction, but it was them barely getting started. You see, at the time, one couldn't simply ignore just how big Nijisanji's English branch had gotten. Just like their main competitor Hololive, they had established some very well-known household names in the VTubing industry, and with them came very passionate and sometimes rabid fan bases that would do anything to show their love to their idols. In other words, they bought any merch you threw at them.
That's a lot of
They were
male
money
VTubers
printers.
in the
So
scene
when some
that,
talents started to all of a sudden start leaving Nijisanji around the end of 2023, VShojo would take notice and take
that's a lot of male VTubers in it that I've never fucking heard of. Oh, that's Niji.
full advantage of the situation,
Still haven't
announcing
heard
the
of him.
recruitment of a new member very shortly after Giga. This time, it was Kuro, an ex-Nijisanji VTuber that had a very loyal fan base and had an established identity in the scene. But they were on a roll because barely 2 weeks afterwards, they would announce yet another member joining, Matara-kan, also being a very well-established ex-Nijisanji member. These two would have an indescribable positive impact on VShojo's PR. Kuro would bring in some much needed humor and expertise from his days at Nijisanji running a big fan base, and Matara would come in to act like some sort of a maternal figure to the VShojo talent roster, balancing the chaotic energy exhibited by the rest of the roster. All this would serve as the building blocks, as the foundation to the most important moment in VShojo's history, when they would take complete advantage of the downfall of one of their biggest competitors. On February 2024, we would witness the biggest PR disaster in VTuber history, when Selon Tatsuki, one of Nijisanji's English VTubers, would attempt to leave this planet twice, citing the toxic work culture at Nijisanji as the main reason. And instead of trying to fix or even salvage the situation, Nijisanji decided to terminate her. What would follow would be mass graduations of the English branch of
Why does
Nijisanji,
Donkey Bird
and their
always end
reputation
up in
would
this
never
in
get
these
close to
scenarios,
recovery.
bro?
VShojo would see this and would take this opportunity to devour Nijisanji's massive rotting corpse in order to replace them and claim their spot of top 2 VTuber agency, competing directly with Hololive. On April 2024, they would recruit Michi Mochievi, another very well-beloved and established ex-Nijisanji talent. And what would happen afterwards is the complete and full redemption of VShojo's reputation. You see, these ex-Nijisanji talents like Michi would go on to praise how happy they are at VShojo in comparison to their previous workplace, being Nijisanji.
I remember that, bro.
Saying that they've
I remember
never worked at a
watching
place
this.
like this before, that their past workplace made them feel terrible, and that here they feel valued. They feel like an actual person. We also would hear something very shocking, the fact that Kuro had over 350,000 British pounds in tax debt, because apparently his previous company, Nijisanji, would tell him that they'll handle taxes for him and take a cut from his paycheck, only to end up not paying a single dollar. He was essentially scammed. So he reached out to Iron Mouse for help in order to figure out what was going on, and she referred him to the CEO of VShojo, Gunrun, who personally took the time out of his day to help him and put him in touch with an accountant and eventually recruited him into VShojo. I mean, guys, at this point, can we just stop calling him Gunrun? Can we call him Gun Angel? Because, I mean, seriously, VShojo seemed to be the complete opposite of Nijisanji. Now, this same rhetoric was echoed by Matara in a discussion with Kuro, in which they were reminiscing how their former company mentally affected them and how happy they are at VShojo today. I mean, look, by that point, this sentiment was pretty common to find. People felt that VShojo was the savior of the VTuber industry, the agency correcting Nijisanji's mistakes and treating their talent like actual human beings, with no toxic workplace and no predatory contracts. And seeing that Iron Mouse had extended her contract with them, they had essentially gone from being a company facing an existential threat to being on top of the world, and things were only getting started for their golden age. Iron Mouse would keep beating records and would get interviewed by the Rolling Stone. Keisan would audition to be in the game Yakuza Like a Dragon and would successfully manage to get in. VShojo was opening up art galleries in Japan, showcasing art of their VTubers. And Iron Mouse would successfully become the most subscribed to channel on Twitch of all time, giving away half the money she raised to the Immune Deficiency Foundation, a charity that means a lot to her since she suffers from CVID, a condition that weakens her immune system to the point where she can't even go out. This foundation aims to find a cure. And seeing how much this meant to her, the CEO would personally bring her on a walk for the Immune Deficiency Foundation using one hell of a high-tech setup where she can see everything that's happening through this camera. But that's not all. I mean, Gunrun would care so much about his talents that he would personally accompany Iron Mouse when she would win the Best VTuber Award in the Streamer Awards at the end of 2023. And if that wasn't enough to impress you, then maybe their global marketing campaigns would, plastering the faces of all their talents in Japan, more specifically a metro station in Shinjuku. I mean, guys, by this point, everyone, whether big or small as a content creator, wanted a piece of VShojo. The idea of joining such an agency that held their talents to such high regards and would give every talent a manager to handle day-to-day tasks while they would focus on what was important to them simply sounded amazing. It seemed that this talent freedom approach was truly working, and VShojo knew exactly what they were doing. But hold your horses. I mean, this success does come with a price. Yes, there is such a thing as suffering from success, and VShojo was about to find that out. Seeing that everyone wanted to join them, many were wondering what had happened to the audition form that was posted back in 2021. Was that simply to recruit an already established independent streamer like Veibe? Many would start making a joke that VShojo was nothing more than a glorified Nijisanji retirement home. That, or they would just hire friends, that they were a nepotism-centric company. The problem was that this criticism didn't reach the company, it would reach the talents directly, causing someone like Zentreya to reach a breaking point. With her tweeting this out during July 2024, saying, "Heartbreaking and disheartening to see so many people pushing the idea of Zen friends only when each person I found had to work their way to the top regardless. I have other friends who don't want to join who are working their asses off and doing amazing things. I even pushed management to open auditions again finally after so long and to scout for new and upcoming people to mesh with. I wanted to meet new people and let the others get a sense for them as well and see who would fit into the puzzle. Then I came to a realization that even if we bring in a new person, people will claim we focused on new people instead of helping others who are halfway to success, or other larger creators be a part of something fun. Either way is a loss.
I'm glad I
just wanted to do
wasn't
right
ready
and
at
help
the
smaller
time
and
and
up and
didn't
coming
try
as well
out,
as the
bro.
potential to
That
bring
would've been
someone on the
terrible.
rise. Management and Gunrun are working their butts off to do all of this, and now I feel as though
Knowing
I made
me,
a
I
mistake
wouldn't have
in
gotten
doing this.
selected
Who knows?
anyway.
But I hope you all still try because I started from the bottom too and I put in the work." This tweet was made in reference to VShojo finally reopening applications after 3 years on July 10th, 2024, a day before Zentreya's tweet. And putting aside the fact that some talents were literally getting harassed over this was actually a net positive for VShojo. You had droves of undiscovered talented VTubers, established VTubers, big, medium, small VTubers, all wanting to join your agency because goddamn, you guys were doing a great job. I mean, this post alone had over 5 million views, over 1,000 replies, with some very big independent VTubers commenting on it. If you hadn't noticed yet, this is what a golden age looks like. And around 5 months later, Ama Lee, who is a very well-established voice actor, VTuber, and singer, would make the announcement that she was joining VShojo. This was of course huge for the agency, but at the same time,
Bro, I knew Amelie before she even did anything else besides cover songs, bro. Like, I remember being a fucking teenager, young teen, bro, listening to all the cover songs she used to do. That's it, and it's crazy that she, like, I was happy to see that not only was she still making content, but that she decided to, like, expand the kind of content she was doing. Fucking amazing, bro. I loved it.
Amelie noticed that there were some replies that were fairly negative about her joining. Feeling the need to specify, this reveal has been in the works for almost 1.5 years. And just to clear up any confusion, I was not a part of the auditions, but I'm so excited for the future debuts of new members. This is simply how badly people were clawing at the chance of joining this agency. She had to actually specify this. But VShojo had made an entire subsidiary in Japan, not just for Kei-san and Amamiya Nazuna. They had very big plans for the country in which VTubing originated in. At the end of 2024, they teased 4 different Japanese talents joining their roster, this time under a wave or a team called VShojo Nova. And by the beginning of July 2025, they would unveil it, launch it alongside Universal Music Group. This wasn't just yet another VTuber wave, these were superstars in the making. I mean, at this point, maybe Gunrun saying back in 2020 that VShojo was going to be a new era of VTubing wasn't so far-fetched. Not only were they on top of the world, but now they were considered a direct competitor to Hololive and someone who had very easily outdone Nijisanji. The sky was the limit, and if this company became worth $1 billion in the coming years, no one would have been surprised. But you see, speaking about money, how did they make it exactly? You see, this was a question that would start to be asked as early as 2023. Agencies typically took a cut of sponsors, donations, subs, and merch from talents in order to sustain their business. But VShojo would only do so, as far as we knew, whenever they brought in a sponsor and whenever there was merch on the line, never taking any of the donations or sub money of their talents. I personally got the chance to speak with someone notable in the content creator industry, and they told me that VShojo for them was a red flag since 2023, truly wondering how this company even functioned and made money. This Redditor right here was also wondering the same thing, and I mean, look at the top comment. It said, "I think there's a running joke about this because I swear I've seen Henya, Keisan, and Giga all commenting, I have no idea how VShojo makes money, insinuating their contracts are really good." I'm sure there's a really good explanation, but my headcanon is that Gunrun and VShojo really just enjoy what they do and don't make a ton of money doing it, but live comfortably enough because their hobby is being support for the talents. But by that point, VShojo was so well established that people who were asking these questions, who were showing these concerns, were simply called stupid and people moved on. This would of course be the sentiment until the end of their golden age, when cracks in the company would start being very hard to ignore and multiple very shocking announcements would be made. On March 6th, 2025, Matara-kan would tweet this, saying, "Today's the day. Momos, send me your energy. I need it." She didn't really specify further, but it seemed like it was a very important day for her and she was asking her community to send her good vibes. We wouldn't hear from her again until 2 days later, on March 8th, in which she would tweet out, "Hey everyone, as I said on stream today, I'll be taking an immediate emergency time off. Some things came up that I cannot address right now, but I promise you will know soon enough. All is good, I am good, I just need to deal with it all ASAP. I love you, Momos." Now look, at this point people were hoping for the best. It's not the first time a big VTuber took a break like this, but it definitely seemed very sudden, and she definitely was trying very hard to reassure her community that nothing was truly wrong.
My bad. I remember seeing like she was like one of the first people to leave, like with no explanation. And I remember my first original thought was that she just wanted to go indie, you know, and I'm pretty sure maybe a lot of people thought that too, but who knows?
Except something was wrong, and we would find that out almost a month later. As the Cinder incident was taking over the entirety of the VTubing community, something else would creep up on the side and shock everyone. One day after Cinder had posted her infamous apology, VShojo would post this, saying, "Dear community members, we want to share that after careful thought and consideration, we've made the difficult decision to formally part ways with Matara on May 5th, 2025. We're genuinely grateful for everything she's brought to VShojo and wish her the best moving forward. Goodbyes are never easy, and we understand many of you deeply care about Matara as we do. The best way to support us both right now is with kindness, understanding, and respect for everyone's feelings and privacy during this transition. We're committed to our incredible talent, community, and the values we share. Thank you all for your empathy and continued support." To say that people were absolutely shocked by this is an understatement. As I said, up until that point, Matara was seen as the motherly figure of the entire talent roster. She'd be someone with an opinion that was highly valued in the company, and would, throughout many occasions, sing the praises of VShojo. So why the hell was she graduating, and why was it so sudden? Well, here's what she had to say about it. "VShojo made the decision to part ways with me on March 6th, effective May 5th. I thank the girls, plus Kuro, for the great times we had together and the wonderful moments we shared in the last 18 months. I wish the remaining talent in VShojo the best of luck in their activities. I love them very much and I will carry on being their bug auntie. I will continue streaming as Matara-kan because I am Matara-kan, and I hope the Momos can still cheer me on even if I won't be Matara-kan of VShojo." So this tweet actually didn't specify much, but it gave us a couple of clues. VShojo made the decision to part ways with me on March 6th. The same exact day she said, "Today is the day, Momo, send me your energy, I need it." 2 days before she said, "I'm taking immediate emergency time off." But realistically, we really had no idea what was going on. It just seemed like VShojo had fired her in a way. And as people were barely recovering from what had happened with Cinder and what was now going on in VShojo, 2 weeks later, another bombshell announcement would drop. Mountain Dew, one of the co-founders of VShojo, would say, "After 5 years, I am leaving VShojo. For the past 5 years, VShojo has been an integral part of my life and journey. Since its inception, I have had the honor and the privilege of working with some of the most hardworking and intelligent team members and have made many friends throughout the VTubing and streaming community. I will always cherish the time we spent together. I take great pride in my contributions to the growth of the VShojo brand, helping shape what it is today through my involvement in most of the forward-facing, large-scale media and the behind-the-scenes growth operations within the company. As of today, I am formally stepping down from my position as Chief Marketing Officer and departing the company to explore new creative endeavors. While this was a difficult decision, I believe it is the right time for me to embark on a new chapter of creative fulfillment in my life. Thank you all for the wonderful memories. See you soon, Mountain Dew." As far as we were concerned, this was a legend in the industry, flexing what they had done in VShojo and saying goodbye in order to do bigger and better things. Overall though, this post definitely felt sudden. Why now of all times? Why 2 weeks after Matara had left? What was going on at the company? We wouldn't get an answer. Instead, a month later, we would get yet another announcement from VShojo announcing that Giga will be parting ways with the company. On the same day this announcement would be posted, she would specify in a tweet saying, as of June 27th, I am terminating my contract with VShojo and will be an independent creator once again.
Everyone just started
This decision
leaving.
took a long time to come to terms with, but is definitely the best choice for my future. I love my members in VShojo more than I could ever say, and I will always be their friend and support. There is no world where I want to be without them both as a creator and as a person, and that is something that doesn't require a contract with an agency to still hold true. I'm wishing all the remaining girls and our dog, which is Kuro, success, always. I'd especially like to thank my manager at VShojo, Kenzo, for always doing his absolute best for me and making the most of our time working together. Love you lots. As far as my streaming goes, nothing will change from this, as in indie I handled pretty much everything myself and can easily do so again. Nothing changed when I joined, nothing's changing as I leave. I do have a lot of cool projects coming up very soon, so I'd appreciate everybody's support. I'll see you on stream soon. And she did stream, only to give a very surface level explanation as to why she had left, citing disagreements with management, working on some projects that would never see the light of day, things like that. And again, as people were barely processing the idea that so many talents had been leaving so quickly from VShojo, 2 days later, on June 27th, 2025, VShojo would announce that Zentreya, a founding member of VShojo and someone who was at this point representing the brand itself, was leaving the company. People were wondering, why? Why now? Why you, someone who has championed VShojo as a company and who seemed like they were never going to leave? And here's what she had to say. On July 11th, I will be leaving VShojo for new opportunities and a new adventure. My time here was long, and I had many fun moments. It will feel like the end of the world, but know that I will always be here for all of you. Nothing will change other than where I am currently at. Thank you to VShojo for many years and the memories. Sadly, times change and paths change, and I decided I wanted to follow my own path and do new things in life. I hope you all will continue to follow me on this adventure. I know change is scary. It's a scary thing to see something you saw grow change, but that is how life goes. We all take this walk eventually, so let's go on this adventure together. Thank you for all your continued support, and even if this is where your stop is, then thank you regardless, and best wishes to VShojo. She would then specify further on the stream that she was doing this for more opportunities and for personal reasons. She, much like the other talents that had left VShojo so far, didn't want any drama or speculation. And just like that, in the span of like a couple of months, 3 talents, including 1 founding member, had left VShojo, and let's not forget that they were joined by the chief marketing officer, Mountain Dew. This wouldn't be the first time VShojo would go through this, we saw this ourselves. But this time felt very different, especially because after a couple of weeks, even Panini had left the company after 3 years. This was the director of talent of VShojo.
Oh,
so you weren't just getting talents leaving, you were also getting some pretty integral people running the company leaving as well. What was going on here? But of course, as you might have guessed, we weren't done here just yet. 7 days later, Iron Mouse would tweet out, "I'm so sorry for not streaming as much these past 2 weeks. I have been going through a lot, but I hope to get back to streaming soon." People just assumed she was tired, dealing with some symptoms of a sickness, or just overall needed a mental health break. But everyone couldn't have been more wrong in this regard. Getting slapped across the face sideways only 3 days later, when Iron Mouse wouldn't tweet out anything, but instead would release a YouTube video titled, "Why I Left VShojo." All you really need to understand the gravity of the situation is listening to the first 30 seconds. Watch.
I am leaving VShojo. Unfortunately, I recently found out that for the past couple of months, I have been misled by VShojo. With the information that I currently have, I believe that I am owed a significant amount of funds, which I have not been paid. And most importantly, the thing that hurts me the most is that the Immune Deficiency Foundation, which is the most important charity to me, and also the reason why I'm here today, is owed over $500,000 from VShojo.
So not only was she not getting paid by her agency, but they were withholding $500,000 from her that was meant to go directly to charity. She had trusted them to make the payment on her behalf.
Figuring that
and
shit
they
out was
didn't. That's something a supervillain would do. In the rest of the video, she would go on to introduce herself again to anyone new that was watching, describing to them just how important the Immune Deficiency Foundation is to her, how they saved her life, and how she started streaming due to her condition in the hopes of simply finding friends, never thinking she'd grow this big. She also reveals that she's speaking to an attorney at the moment. She can't really reveal everything just yet, but what she can say is that around the time she was renewing her contract, when she was having second thoughts, Gunman would push this idea on her that the company needed her to succeed, that if she were to leave, VShojo would fall apart. Now, yes, to an extent, that is actually true, especially after
and that's exactly what happened.
But this resulted in her ironically feeling trapped in an agency that claimed talent freedom. She wouldn't be able to leave because she felt responsible for both the company and the talents that she loved very much in it. It was simply tragic. And then she would specify that she wasn't giving up. She would start a new fundraiser on Tiltify, and the cool thing about Tiltify is that they receive the money, the creator doesn't touch a single dollar, and they then send the money to that charity on their own. Within just a few hours, Ironmouse had raised tens of thousands of dollars, absolutely eclipsing her initial $10,000 goal, with the entire VTuber community backing her up and encouraging everyone to donate. Soon this news would spread like wildfire. Ironmouse, one of the biggest streamers on the planet, was scammed $500,000 from her agency that was meant to go to charity. The Pandora's box was officially opened. VShojo was fair game. And when it comes to internet drama like this, once it rains, it fucking pours, baby. And now you had many people come out with their grievances that they had with the company. Like this music composer here saying, nowhere near what Mouse is going through, but for the past year, VShojo has been habitually late in paying me commissions, sometimes leaving thousands of dollars of my invoices unpaid for months at a time. I tried to be patient, but knowing they were stealing charity money from Mousy while this was all happening makes me sick to my stomach. Another music artist would quote tweet this and say, I have thousands of dollars of unpaid work from them too. Had to chase people down just to make sure my friends got paid. They even hire someone to help with music stuff, but I ended up managing everything while they got paid for my work. This had gotten to a point where it was so ridiculous that Ironmouse had to make a statement saying any artists/musicians that worked with me through VShojo and never got paid, please contact me ASAP so I can get you paid. I'm so sorry. It turned out that the financial problems of VShojo weren't just related to talents, they were related to everything. Around that same time, Zentreya would also tweet this out, saying, in all seriousness, I know VShojo had times where they would take forever to process a payment out to artists when they worked with me if the payment was through VShojo and not me. I just want to make sure that if you were one, you were paid. Contact me on what project, I'm so sorry. Very shortly after Ironmouse had released her video, both Kuro and Michi would take VShojo out of their names on Twitter. As this was all happening, a well-known Japanese media personality would tweet this out, and it would end up being a bombshell, saying, this person moved from a VTuber company to another as a staff last year, bragging about his new income. He thrusted me a few of his new business cards to give to my good contacts. I found the action obnoxiously rude, but maybe he was too young and friendly to know better. Then the motherfucker wanted to meet up for tax advice because I'm a native in Japan and I hire an accountant. I was asked to have dinner in his area, which was quite far from me, splitting the bill. That day I got convinced I didn't like the guy. Yet because I loved the talents he worked with, I was only secretly hoping he would lose his job one day. Recently, I heard from another creator that he was showing photos of VTubers' real selves while revealing their personal info like marital status. I now wanted to find a way to warn other employees. Today I've learned the most despicable shit the company has done to their talent. Don't know if he's involved with it, yet all my personal grudge is nothing compared to such betrayal. Sometimes, unfortunately, managers or agencies can be the talent's worst enemy. Please always support the talent first. So here Shibuya Kaho was pretty much saying that there was someone who worked at a noted VTuber company, we can only assume it was Nijisanji, was then hired at VShojo, and that person was very careless with some of these VTubers' identities. Something extremely taboo, seeing that these VTubers valued their privacy above all else. I mean, they're VTubers for a reason, right? But even though that was despicable, she would still say that this is nothing compared to what VShojo had done by stealing $500,000 from Ironmouse that was meant for charity. Someone in the replies would point out saying, if you knew about this guy, why didn't you speak up earlier? Revealing VTubers' information is dangerous to them. It just looks like you joined the bandwagon when it became relevant. To which he said, actually, I just came back from the US where I gathered the info that he was still within the company, and I was actually meeting up with someone who's been working with him in Japan this week. Given that it's a story I heard from someone else, I thought it was best to do in person. Miyari, a Twitch streamer, would corroborate what Shibuya Kaho had said, saying, "Speaking of VShojo, I remember one anime expo, I was at an after party and a certain someone was trying to flex how he could arrange private meet and greets with the creators behind the models. Never sat right with me because do these creators even know you're exploiting/treating them like party favors?" Zentrea, who cares about her privacy so much that she literally uses a text-to-speech voice in order to communicate, would find out about this and say, "Someone who worked with VShojo was giving out info? What the fuck? Are we so fucking serious?" She then tagged Gunrun and said, "Dude, what the absolute fuck? I wasn't aware of this and I am assuming the others weren't either. Did you know?" She would then edit the post and say, reading, "It was Japanese side and it's so funny, dude. It still stands and I personally don't even know what all happened behind the scenes on the English side. I just followed so blindly, leading VShojo thinking it's all cool, man. F me for being stupid." Obviously the community shared her shock, but also emphasized, don't blame yourself, you didn't know. Even Mountain Dew, who used to be the chief marketing officer of VShojo and one of the co-founders, would say, "Nah bro, what the absolute fuck?" tagging Gunrun on Twitter. Things were devolving, and they were devolving very quickly, with all of these events barely happening within the span of 24 hours after Iron Mouse had posted her video. Now, seeing that Keisan was in a different time zone, she woke up to absolute chaos. But she wasn't just going to simply sit by and watch all of this burn. She immediately announced a livestream at 9 p.m. Japan time, with a thumbnail being, "We need an explanation, please answer VShojo." In it, she would do the unexpected and bring on the CEO of VShojo Japan for a discussion, giving him the avatar of a rat, saying VShojo Japanese CEO for now. Yura on YouTube translated the entire conversation. Because the CEO wasn't comfortable speaking in English, he spoke in Japanese. He would confirm to the world that the $500,000 that the Immune Deficiency Foundation was owed was truly not paid. This was the first time a VShojo staff, especially someone as high up as him, confirmed this to us publicly. When questioned about financials further, he would explain that he had very limited access to company financials since VShojo Japan was just a subsidiary. He could only see money coming in and out of VShojo Japan, and he was taking a risk coming to the stream because he had multiple higher-ups above him. And the most important moment in this entire live stream would be this right here. No need to explain, just watch.
So did you just say that VShojo JP itself was doing good?
そうですね。
In finances too?
そうですね。
You haven't paid me.
っていうことになるですね。その、本社の中の帳簿上はそうなってたっていうことは聞いてます。
でもタレントに1円も払われてない状態っていうのを把握しておられたんでしょうか？
そうです。はい。
Bro, what the fuck?
それは資金的にうまくいってないのでは？
入ってくるお金と出ていくお金の数字のみを見たら、日本の支部っていうのはうまくやっていたってことですね。
Yeah, it's not. Hold on. Okay. Yeah, it's not doing. Yeah, it's doing well because you're not paying people. What the fuck? Oh yeah, no, our company's doing really well. Our book of finances says we're doing fucking amazing. I haven't gotten paid yet though, and neither has anyone else. Oh yeah, that's what unfortunately happened, but we're doing really good. Are you fucking dense? Maybe if you started paying your fucking talent, your finances wouldn't be good, and that's why you haven't fucking paid them. Oh my. Oh no. Just, oh no, bro. Oh no.
出ていこうかな。入ってきたお金。I quit VShojo today.
はい。
はい。
VShojo 辞めます今日。
はい。
はい。31日予定でしたけど、今日辞めます。
So she quit live in front of the Japanese CEO's face, in front of tens of thousands of people, revealing that she was planning.
Yo, WK-san, bro. Fucking W.
On quitting on July 31st, because in
That's
general,
crazy.
she wasn't paid since
She said,
last
yeah, fuck
year,
you.
since
I
September
quit.
2024. An amount of money that was in the 6 figures. During this call,
Bro, because like usually when it comes to like professional shit like this, I mean, VShojo ain't really professional anymore, but like when it came to a situation where you're viewed in a professional spotlight, right? Everybody else quit in a very professional way and also like talked about their problems afterwards with it in a very professional way as well. I mean, fuck, Iron Mouse is still handling it legally. You know what I'm saying? So like, you know, it's all every single other instance besides this has been very professional. Keisan comes out with her balls out, bro. Contacts the CEO and goes like, "Oh, your finances are good? I haven't been paid." Yeah, that's what happened, but our finances are good. So you're saying that your finances are good, but I haven't gotten paid. So that means your finances aren't good. Well, hey, guess what? Guess what? Fuck you. I quit. Today. I'm quitting. Today. You lost me today. We're done. Like, bro. W her. Holy shit.
He also specified that his salary was slashed in half and that there were talks about separating Japanese VShojo and English VShojo wallets since the Japanese side was doing so well. But again, since it was doing so well, how come Keisan and other Japanese talents weren't paid for so long?
Exactly.
This is why she quit. Now, the CEO would specify that the staff was still being paid, just not the talent. And to clarify any confusion, Legal Mindset, who is a reliable lawyer, would say another note from Keisan's stream regarding staff being paid first, they had to pay the staff due to clear labor law violations if they didn't pay full-time staff. They are banking on the ambiguity of VShojo talent as independent contractors to shaft them out of payment. He would then go on to say, overall, Keisan's stream shows US VShojo leadership aiming for bankruptcy as a solution to discharge unpaid payments to the talents as independent contractors. Now is the best time for VTubing industry to challenge this insanity and establish that VTubers are true employees. So now we just went from them stealing $500,000 meant for charity to not paying their talents to try to legally squirm away from paying their talents money that they're owed. As this entire chaos was unfolding, Michi would go live to talk about what was going on. She would briefly go over how we got here, how she started VTubing as a way to hang out with friends, and eventually she would end up at Nijisanji and it wouldn't really end well. After Nijisanji...
I feel bad for all of them, but one person I really feel for the most here is Michi, bro. Because she went through fucking hell and back in Nijisanji, bro. Got welcomed into VShojo with open arms and like a safety net. Just to be fucked over again. Like, I feel so fucking bad for her, man.
She'd be at a point in her life where she had picked up bad habits again and had a lot of baggage. So she was very grateful to VShojo for giving her a second chance, for saving her essentially, making her trust them fully. This is why she would sing their praises so much and so often, something that she says she feels embarrassed by now that everything has been unfolding. Finally, she announces that she's officially quitting VShojo and that they also owe her a significant amount of money.
I hope she can find
there are
happiness
other
in
things,
being
but she can't
indie.
discuss them right now due to legal reasons. Amelie would join Michi in announcing that she will be terminating her contract with VShojo effective immediately.
And I kind of feel bad for Amelie because, like, didn't she just fucking join them? Like, she just joined them, right? Like, she just joined them. And now she's got to leave them, like, barely a year in.
And will be returning to being an independent VTuber and content creator. Kuro would also go live to talk about his experience, and he'd say that the first year at VShojo was amazing. The contract was amazing, and it was a complete difference to the first company he worked for, which was Nijisanji. He would then say that the second year got more weird, more disjointed, less collabs between the talents at VShojo like the first year, and overall, the vision wasn't as clear as it used to be. To him, VShojo began being a company with a lot of empty promises. But the reason why he and other talents didn't leave is because they would have many meetings with Gunrun and important staff, explaining their grievances and being promised that things were going to improve, and they trusted them. Unlike other companies they worked for, they had the CEO listening to everything they were saying, telling them that don't worry, we'll take everything into account. But just like the other talents, this trust that Kuro gave VShojo wouldn't be rewarded in the end, saying that he also hasn't been paid since September 2024, and that he had only received the funds for the merch that he sold during his debut in 2023 in June of 2025, and only because his manager pushed for it so much. Obviously, that is crazy. He would then tweet out the fact that he removed VShojo from his name and would lose the VShojo logo on Twitter, saying, "And there it goes, how do you do, fellow indie VTubers?" Hime Hajime would then join her fellow talents and say, "I can confirm I have also quit VShojo. These past few years I got to meet and befriend some amazing people, but I can no longer be part of the company." Henya the Genius would then go live to talk about her perspective, and here's what she had to say. Just 5 minutes before the stream, she found out that her birthday merch was never shipped. Merch that her fans paid for.
That's what
They
that was
never
about?
received
What
it.
the
Her manager
fuck?
and her attorney are now handling the situation, and she'll
I
update
seen
her
something
fans
like
when
that
she
on
can.
Twitter, but
She's
I
of course
didn't
officially leaving
fully
VShojo,
acknowledge it
and the
'cause I didn't
situation
know
has
if
been
it
very
was
heartbreaking
VShojo.
for her. And just like the other talents, the company owes her a significant amount of money that they've delayed for a very long time. One could guess that it was since she joined almost. Just like with Michi, VShojo gave her hope again. She almost quit VTubing, but here she felt like she had a second chance. She trusted them deeply. But thankfully, even though she was backstabbed by this company she trusted, she will be continuing VTubing as an independent. But this wouldn't just be talents
good.
currently at the company, this would be also ex-talents that would finally be able to talk about their grievances with VShojo. One of them being Silvervale. She went live to talk about it, and I mean, just listen to this clip, it'll tell you everything. This is her talking about what happened during the whole Hogwarts Legacy controversy, and how as she was being harassed, she got on a call with Gunrun. Watch.
I was put into a call with Gun,
Yo,
the
this
CEO of the
this shit hurt me hearing so fucking bad because it's like, bro, Silver has really gone through the fucking ropes. She's been affected by so much shit in a very short amount of time. And she's clearly like innocent-minded as fuck. Like she's just trying to do her best at all times. She's very clear-minded, open, honest, and she's got a very innocent mindset in this scene. And she's just being dragged and bullied in every scenario. It's not fair. It's not fair. She's also one of the people I have I feel very bad for because she didn't deserve any of the shit that's been happening to her at all. And this is gonna hurt again hearing, depending on how much of this he plays. But bro, hearing her, like every time she has cried or sounded like even somewhat sad on her streams about things, you can tell it's genuine. And you'll hear it here in a second. But this shit, man, this shit hurt.
the company, like someone that I admired and I looked up to and I wanted to please, someone that I thought was the coolest person ever. And he told me that I was a damage to the brand, that I was a disappointment. I was told that me being harassed was an inconvenience to the other talents and not to talk to them. Optics were more important than their own talents' well-being. And I was suspended from streaming. They said it wasn't a suspension because they weren't that kind of agency, but what else do you call being told not to stream?
Yeah, as she was dealing with the harassment campaign, instead of the company supporting her, making sure she was okay, the CEO got into a call with her and called her a disappointment. Gunrun was essentially siding with the harassers and doxers. After that, of course, she wanted to leave. Vey wanted to leave too for her own reasons that she would reveal later. But they would only allow them to leave together at the same time to make it seem like it was a joint decision and not an individual one. They couldn't complain because it turned out that their contract had no exit clause, which is, I think, pretty much illegal. And Nyaners, who wanted to also leave, wasn't allowed to leave with them. She had to graduate separately. Now you think, why is it that VShojo wanted Silvervale and Vey to graduate at the same time? Well, that's simple, because after they left, they would start talking behind their backs to other talents, as well as the brands, artists, and business partners that they had worked with. VShojo management would make it their life's mission to slander both Silvervale and Vey to make it seem like they were problem childs. Like the reason why they left and the reason why they got into so much controversy was their problem, not VShojo's. It was disgusting. But even after leaving, Silvervale wasn't done with the trauma of VShojo. She said that the threat of VShojo suing her haunted her for a very, very long time. Because at some point, before she even graduated, she had mentioned in her Discord that she was stressed and needed to cancel the stream. Her lawyer was immediately contacted by VShojo after she had posted that message, and they threatened to sue her if she just hinted that she was leaving or was unhappy at all at the company. She constantly felt watched and felt like she had to be very careful of what she said at all times. This wasn't a company who put talent first or valued talent freedom. This was a dystopian, nightmarish agency.
I'm not even saying allegedly. Come for my fucking throat, VShojo. You ain't got shit for money. All right? You ain't got shit. You're going bankrupt. They can go fuck themselves, bro. That... like, she got slandered twice this year. Even more earlier on. What the fuck, man?
People felt so sorry for Silvervale because she's had to keep this to herself for years, not able to ever talk about it. She said this was the first time she felt like she could start to heal now that she was able to talk. But the bombshells here weren't over, because she would then tweet this out saying, "My heart goes out to all the communities affected by this recent news. I know that it's surprising and heart-wrenching for a lot of people. There's a lot I wish I could say, but I signed a pretty aggressive NDA. They made my mom sign one too. All I can say is that it's been bad for a long time, and I warned everyone as much as I could. It was so much worse than you could imagine. The VTubers make the agency, not the other way around. To take advantage of those who trusted you is vile. Never derive your value from an agency. Believe in yourself and your content, because you're worth so much more than you can imagine." They made her mother sign an NDA. That's how badly they treated her and were also scared of her. Legal Mindset came in to clarify, yeah, making your mom sign is not going to hold up, truly showing us how ridiculous this all is. But if you thought that was bad, Nyanners would then go live to reveal to us even more very disturbing details.
I don't know
VShojo
anything
wasn't
else
good with
after all
payments
that.
as early as 2023, owing her almost 6 figures worth of payments. She would then reveal that part of the money she was owed was for a sponsor stream in which she literally got swatted. Someone doxed her and sent police at her house. She had guns pointed at her. But even though that happened, she would then continue streaming because she was doing a sponsor stream and didn't want to disappoint the agency. Guess what? Part of the money she's owed was that stream. She wasn't paid for the stream in which she got swatted and kept going when she could have just easily ended. After leaving VShojo, within just a few months, she had made more money than she had ever made under the agency. The same thing applied to Silvervale. Since the first contracts had no exit clause, the only way Nyanners, Vey, and Silvervale were confident enough to leave was because VShojo at the time had an expired business license. Before leaving though, she was still in the process of renewing and brought in a lawyer to review the contract. As she was doing this, she was guilt-tripped by the staff. We can only assume this was the CEO, saying things like, "Wow, she's so heartless, she's talking to us through a lawyer," which is ridiculous, by the way. Having a lawyer review a contract should be normal. It is normal. Her lawyer would then audibly be horrified during the contract call, sighing and saying, "Some of this is ridiculous. Some of this isn't legal." We would then get further clarification on the graduations of 2023. Vey comes in the chat and specifies that part of the company's terms for her exit was announcing her and Silver's departures at the same time to avoid panic. Vey also didn't get paid for any sponsors from 2021 to 2023, and she needed to hire a lawyer to pester them 24/7 in order to get her money, which makes her believe that VShojo had used other talents' money in order to pay her. In the end, Nyanners thought that she was genuinely going to take all of this to the grave, never being able to clear her name. But when the Iron Mouse situation had unfolded, she finally felt like she was safe enough to talk to everyone about this. After that stream, she would tweet out, "I'm so sorry, I'm still sick, so I gotta take today's stream off, but I wanted to express how thankful I am to everyone for all the support. Not just for me, but for everyone who's had to deal with this painful situation. It's heartbreaking they had to go through so much undue stress caused by the people they trusted in. I wish them all the best, and I know they'll go on to keep doing amazing things and have many brighter opportunities awaiting them. It was scary, but I'm immensely grateful and relieved to have finally been able to speak out about a lot that has weighed on me for the past 2 years. It was an incredibly difficult time for me that left me feeling so isolated and mentally burnt out for a long while. I know many others have felt the same way, and my heart goes out to them. To be met with the overwhelming amount of understanding and support from everyone when I thought I'd never be able to talk about this or have any kind of closure has helped me so much. Thank you for hearing me out and being so chill. It means the world to me. It's been an awful time for a lot of people, to say the least, but I hope that on the bright side of things, all of this coming to light can create meaningful change going forward. Seeing the VTuber community come together like this to lift each other up has been so nice to see. Please send the former VShojo talent and everyone affected by this all the love you can, and please donate to the Immune Deficiency Foundation. Thank you guys for everything, and let's look forward to way more fun times in the future." Nyanners and Silvervale were finally able to clear their names, and Vey was able to chime in as well. Many people felt very bad with how they perceived them and were there to show them support. But it wasn't just talents and ex-talents of VShojo that had something to say. No, VShojo didn't need to have someone be a talent in order to mistreat them. In the summer of 2024, VShojo would open their applications again. And since Amelie needed a year and a half to join, it was safe to assume that this was going to be the same amount of time required for a new talent to join as well. What the hell was happening to them as this entire company was crumbling? Well, they would decide to also speak out. I know some people have noticed that I've been spotty with streams lately, and the reason is actually because I was supposed to join VShojo this year. A lot has happened, and after over half a year after signing, I requested to have my contract voided. I won't go into detail, but it was an opportunity that I was very excited about, and I'm sad that I won't be able to bring you everything I had in mind. I'm sorry for all the delayed projects and ideas I excitedly talked to you guys about, but I'll be working on them by myself slowly. To the few people at VShojo I was able to talk to, thank you for giving a chance to a bug like me. I hope everyone who hears about this news, even if you don't know me or watch me, can still send support to the VShojo girls, both existing and my gen mates. I'm sorry things turned out this way. Thank you to my bug bros and friends for always supporting me and being there for me. You guys are the reason why I'm strong. Let's keep having fun, okay? She would, just like Haruka, link the Tiltify for the Immune Deficiency Foundation. And we'd also have yet another VTuber by the name of PayaPie tweet this out, saying, I've been searching for the right words, here they are as carefully as I can say them. I was one of the girls who passed the VShojo audition. After 4 years of blood, sweat, and slime, I really believed I'd made it. That all the late nights, overtime, sacrifice meant something more. I was excited to take a huge leap with the community I built as me, the weird little slime girl you know and hopefully love. But after learning what happened with Mousie's charity funds, I couldn't in good conscience move forward with my contract and it all came crashing down. That was the final straw. We were promised support, stability, and financial compensation. I was so excited to join a company I believed in and that believed in me, but it became clear that many of these promises wouldn't be kept. A lot of us are now left shouldering the costs of decisions we didn't make. I turned down other opportunities because I believed in this one and I don't regret having hope or for wishing on shooting stars. I was so ready, I still am. What hurts most though is losing the chance to debut alongside some of the most incredible, talented, kind, and hardworking girls I've ever met. I didn't just join for myself, I joined for the shared dream we all believed in and that I still believe in. I know some of you have sensed something has been off these past few months. I've been doing my best to smile through the storm, but the truth is it's been raining on me for a long time. You've all given me so much love and support, and I'm sorry I haven't been able to be at my best. I'm working through my feelings, sweeping up pieces of those broken dreams and figuring out how to chase new ones. Thank you for being patient with me. I will find my way again, but I just need a little time. And if you're still reading, please send your love to all the VShojo talents, past, present, and future. Everyone is hurting in their own way, and kindness costs nothing. Until then, stay happy. Absolutely heartbreaking. Unfortunately though, the heartbreak wouldn't end here because there was yet another member by the name of Phoebe-chan who found themselves in the same boat. Saying, I needed extra time to gather my thoughts before saying anything, but I was one of the undebuted VShojo talents who passed the audition last year. Please be gentle towards those affected. Linking a YouTube video titled My Experience with VShojo.
Shit.
She would also echo the same things
You
as
didn't
PayaPie,
hear about
saying that she
any
had
of this
worked
shit.
so hard to get to this
I'm
point,
glad
and
that
it's
Mujin's
just
covering
so
it.
heartbreaking to see it all fall apart.
Yo, when Mujin covers something, he covers the whole fucking story. Props to him, bro. Because this shit needed to be brought to light.
Within the span of a day. It's just a stab to the heart when you see people who were so hardworking and patient get so close to bearing the fruits of their labor and not able to even enjoy them. This would also happen to the fifth and final member that was meant to join VShojo. As far as I'm aware, there were 5 of them. She went by the name Tori Oriane, but her story was a bit more unique than the others. You see, VShojo had for some reason implored her to completely abandon her identity, to start from scratch with a new model and new name in VShojo. That was kind of counterintuitive when it came to talent freedom, but she accepted. I mean, she wanted to be in this agency that signified success for her. She'd be strung along for months, being told that they were working on her debut, working on her model, working on her assets, when in reality they were doing none of that. She only found out recently that this wasn't happening as the company was imploding, and this was with the mindset that she was abandoning this account, so she didn't put as much effort into this, thinking that she was going to start anew in VShojo. This company stole $500,000 in charity funds and, with no exaggeration, ruined the hopes and dreams of 5 people that had so much potential. That is criminal. But as you might have guessed, those 5 talents were not the only ones who got screwed over by VShojo. You even had the very well-renowned VTuber Mint Fantôme post this, saying, my experience with VShojo, sorry to add to the discourse, but I'd be really appreciative if you would listen. In it, she would say that her interactions with VShojo started when she would make a podcast with Matara. Even though she wasn't a member, she did collaborate on merch, but didn't receive a single dollar from it. When she met up with Matara in Japan, she told her that she was feeling lonely, that she wanted to join a group or a company. So eventually, she came up with the idea to pitch an idol group to VShojo, and Gunrun was supportive. And VShojo would audition 2 other people. These would be completely separate from the 5 VTubers we just saw. The problem though is that the debut kept getting delayed. She tried to be as patient as possible in the beginning, but then it just became ridiculous. Another merch drop
Yeah,
would
it just
happen,
never
and
fucking
again, she would
happens.
receive $0 from it. And that technically speaking, throughout the whole thing, she was actually a VShojo talent for over a year, even though no one really knew about it publicly. This was, of course, again, tragic, and it would show us a trend with VShojo, the fact that they wanted to do so much, but very often would bite way more than they could chew. The same thing would happen with Quinn, who is a VTuber that used to be at Nijisanji that also happens to stream with Facecam. VShojo would tell him that they're interested, that they really would love to sign him on, but eventually would just ghost him.
I didn't
this
know he,
company's higher-up management was ran
shared
by
his
complete
face. That's
clowns
cool.
who didn't really know how to run a business. And more revelations would come out. For example, Shoto, who is a very big VTuber, would say, "Fun fact, I was contacted for an opportunity to join VShojo back in 2023, and I'm very glad it didn't go through. Please support Mouse and support the Immune Deficiency Foundation, y'all." To which Sayu, yet another very big VTuber, would say, "You too? Damn," and retweet. Shy Lily, who needs no introduction, would say, "Good thing I trusted my gut feeling when VShojo tried to recruit me. Their contract was riddled in red flags and basically legal robbery. This makes me sick to my stomach. Please, if you can, support Mouse and the Immune Deficiency Foundation." And even more tragically, Sayu, he used to be at Nijisanji and was treated horrendously by that company. Like I'm
No, why
talking,
does that
she
name
was
sound
doxxed and
familiar?
harassed and everything, and Nijisanji did nothing, effectively what Gunrun had done to Silvervale, would get in contact with VShojo as she was stepping out of Nijisanji. At that point, she had lost all hope, but VShojo had given her renewed hope. She pitched an idea to Gunrun, saying what if she left and several others left and they would make a gen of ex-Nijis in VShojo. He liked the idea, wanted to listen to more things she had to say, she felt like she was finally validated for the first time in her career, and Gunrun, the CEO of VShojo, would tell her that he wanted to help and that this sounded like a plan, saying that the only thing he was waiting on was for her and Nijisanji to finalize their graduation. After she'd go through an absolute nightmare and finally get rid of that company, she would reach out to Gunrun again and would only receive a surface level response, effectively ghosting her. She had lost everything in Nijisanji, she had lost complete hope, Gunrun gave her some hope, and she had lost that too. All in the span of just a
Wow,
few
what the
months.
fuck?
It turned out that VShojo wasn't this next level, new era VTuber agency, it was run by a manipulator who couldn't run a business better than a kid. And speaking of that manipulator and how he founded VShojo, I wasn't fully honest with you in that regard. It didn't really pop out of nowhere in 2020. No, it was actually a work in progress and it was only revealed in 2020. And according to Project Melody herself, it began with Gunrun DMing her on Twitter. She was exclusively an adult content creator who streamed on adult sites, but he wanted to know if she was interested in streaming non-adult content on Twitch. Watch her say this herself.
I debuted on a different site. That was the only thing I wanted to do. And then Gunrun reached out to me on Twitter the day
Right.
that I was closing DMs. Like I was going to click
Oh.
delete, and then he was the top. And he said, "Hey, I love what you're doing. Anime is awesome, and hentai, and I like your vibe. If there's anything I can do to help, let me know." And he's like, "Have you been on Twitch? Would you consider that?" And I'm like, "Hell no, I won't." And then
So that's a pretty interesting piece of history. She was technically the first ever founding member of VShojo. But here's two more interesting things. The first one being that she thought this was going to be a LootTuber agency, full of people that make adult content like her. And the second interesting fact is that initially she acted as the talent manager. You'll see this for yourself because she explains this too.
in the back of my mind, I thought it was gonna be a VTuber agency. But then I accidentally ran into Mouse, and I heard her talking about seeing someone on a train, and then she sang Ave Maria, and I said, her right there, she is the one. Yes.
Now, of course, she's half joking over here, but it's interesting to see how much of an influence she had on the early days of VShojo, even before they came up with the name of the agency. And again, I'm not making this up or exaggerating, she said this herself on her stream. Take a look for yourself.
Originally, when we started VSJ, before we even went with the name, the concept kind of was thinking a talent agency, but for more people like me. Because we're like, clearly lewd tubing will eventually happen. We didn't have a word for it because it wasn't a thing. And yeah, exactly, that would be really neat, is a lewd tubing group. And I'm sure it will eventually happen. But oh damn, that would be a cool avenue. Yes, but very quickly we realized, like, I mean, that kind of like isolates us, and there's a lot of cool people out there, just like people hidden amongst it, because there wasn't that many English speaking ones. It was almost entirely Japan based. And so Blue tubing was more obscure. It was a neater concept to build something that's more general and.
So she was the first founding member. She was also the talent manager who decided to pick Iron Mouse and the other founding talent. And the reason why I'm pointing all this out is because all roads lead back to the Nux controversy. Take a look at what he had to say once Nyanners talked about her swatting as VShojo was imploding, well, right now. Watch.
VTuber Nyanners says that VShojo didn't pay her for a sponsored stream when she got swatted. She left the agency in 2023 and claims VShojo had failed to pay her for multiple deals over several years. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I actually knew about this. I actually knew about this years ago because that stream that she got swatted, the person that swatted her was the person that tried to swat me that I helped VShojo actually get arrested. Okay? I don't think you are aware of this. I don't think you are, again, personal Nux information. The reason why a lot of the VShojo girls were so upset about my video calling attention to the swatter is because I think a lot of misinformation was fed to them by the VShojo company, but also because that swatter actually swatted Nyanners. I never said this publicly because I felt like it wasn't actually appropriate. And, you know, it's not my information to deliver or release. I never do that. As you know, I don't actually release private information, generally speaking, unless I think it's actually important. But this is actually a thing. And Nyanners actually called me after the drama to basically tell me and express her headspace about the entire situation and why she was so, like, easy to be triggered by everything, because she was actually swatted, and it's fucking horrible. It really is. So yeah. She whatever, I don't want to get into details. As you know, private information remains private. I don't release anything publicly, but that was what happened. It turned out it was that same swatter that actually went after me. So yes, I do know about this, and I do know that she had to continue her stream after she was swatted because it was a sponsored stream. The update is that she didn't even get paid for that.
Huh, interesting. So Nyanners was doxxed and swatted by the same person trying to dox Nux and Saki Nightshade. That was never mentioned by VShojo in their very lengthy explanation. They claimed that there were only 2 victims of that specific doxing method. But what I find really interesting is that Nux, even though he was literally being backstabbed out in public, still tried to protect Project Melody, who was in the group. In fact, she was the creator of that group. She was the one who invited Nux, Phoenix, and Gunrun. You can see this in the crown that's next to her name on the right. The only reason we found out she was there was because of Fruit, even though I don't even think that was her intention. So this, of course, raises even more questions. Nyanners was the victim here. How come she wasn't the one in this group instead of Project Melody? And why is it that Project Melody's here with the CEO and the head of the cybersecurity operations of VShojo? Did Gunrun view her as a co-founder? And finally, seeing that she held some role of importance in VShojo, was she aware of the financial constraints of the company in 2025? Those are fairly important questions to ask. But with all this new information at our disposal, it comes as no surprise that Project Melody was one of the final members of VShojo to announce her resignation, saying this: "I waited to make a statement because I'm always anxious and struggle to find my words, but yes, I'm leaving VShojo. I was an OG talent, put everything into this company, but I'm beyond devastated at what happened, and I'd never in a million years thought I'd be saying these words." Now, I'm not implying anything, and to do so would be dangerous, so take this with a grain of salt. But so far, on every tweet of every single VShojo member leaving, there were other VShojo members replying. Not a single one can be found in these 1,100 replies on this post. Project Melody would make yet another post saying that she's taking a 1 to 2 week break. Again, in the replies, not a single VShojo member can be found. Now look, this could very well be a complete coincidence. It's not like they unfollowed her on Twitter. To say that Project Melody had a hand in embezzling the $500,000 that belonged to the charity would be absolutely ridiculous. But what we can do right now is simply ask questions, especially in regards to the Nux controversy, which is still missing some pieces. We'll see if she'll have anything to add or clarify when she's back from her break. In the meantime though, every single member of Nova would all leave together, putting an end to this joint venture between VShojo and the Universal Music Group in Japan. But Gunrun was silent. The company's page was silent. And it would take yet another 24 hours on July 24th, 2025 to finally get an official statement from VShojo. Gunrun would finally post his statement using the VShojo official Twitter page, saying, "VShojo has failed, and I've mismanaged the company into the situation you're all witnessing. So today I'm sharing the difficult news that VShojo is shutting down, and I take full responsibility for the decisions that led us to this point. I've been doing everything I can to fundraise and right the ship these past few months, but despite my efforts, we are in a worse position and those I care about are not paying the price. Over the past few years, we raised around $11 million to pursue a bold, talent-first approach in VTubing, prioritizing creators and community over short-term profits to achieve long-term sustainability.
Which is a lie because you fucking manipulated and were kind of a fucking bastard behind the scenes, according to, other people, of course.
Our funding went directly to our creators through generous splits, debut investments, infrastructure, concerts, events, and staffing, all designed to support them. We also wanted talent to own their IP, which we knew was a unique creator-first approach for.
I feel like saying generous implies that it wasn't deserved. Like that they weren't worth that money, but we were generous enough to give them the money. We were feeling like, let's give them just a little extra more. They're not worth it, but like, bro, what?
An agency. However, despite all our efforts, the business failed to generate the revenue we needed to sustain that model, and eventually we ran out of money. Additionally, I acknowledge that some of the money spent by the company was raised in connection with talent activity, which I later learned was intended for a charitable initiative. At the time, we were working hard to raise additional investment capital to cover our costs, and I firmly believed, based on the information available to us, that we would be able to do so and cover all expenses. We were unsuccessful in our fundraising efforts. I made the decision to pursue funding, and I own its consequences. I am deeply sorry to all the talents, staff, friends, and community members who believed in our brand. We did not deserve.
You also own a lawsuit coming your way. You will be paying all that fucking money. Does not matter. You owe. You're gonna pay what you owe. That's facts.
Deserve this. Signed, Justin Gunrun. What a dog shit apology, right? I mean, look, I'm an objective this whole video. Come on, allow me to be a bit biased here. This is fucking terrible. So no wonder he got immediately community noted, saying Justin claims to not know the purpose of these funds, but he personally congratulated Iron Mouse on the completion of her charity fundraising event and reposted Ludwig, directly mentioning that half the funds would go to charity. You can see Gunrun congratulating Iron Mouse on her subathon, saying, "You did it, Mouse." On July 25th, Legal Mindset would reply with, "The feds will be looking at this post." And here you can see the Gunrun retweeting a tweet from Ludwig, congratulating
I gotta follow
Iron
that
Mouse
lawyer,
on her
bro.
crazy achievement. Iron Mouse would reply to this apology saying, "You broke my heart, my spirit, and my trust." Keisan would say, "Why didn't you let us know the moment you realized the situation? Why did I get this information 2 weeks ago, not from the company, but from my homegirls? Why did you lie to the Japanese branch a week ago that everything was good and taken care of?" Henya would say, "I had a wonderful time while I was in there, so because of that, it hurts my heart a lot. My community and my friends don't deserve this. I don't expect you to do anything at this point. Just please don't do this ever again to anyone." Giga would say, "VShojo didn't just fail. Many staff and leadership failed VShojo. Instead of using talent money on operating costs, the company should have shut down or at least informed us, but you used us as cash cows to keep things afloat while keeping us in the dark." Amelie would say, "This is exactly what Copium Merch did to me, and you promised it wouldn't happen to me again. I'm so beyond disappointed and frustrated, I don't even know what to feel anymore." Recounting an experience she had with a company that pretty much scammed her and her fans out of merch. Michi Mochievi would say, "We trusted you and you knew how hard that was for some of us to do. Our communities, people who only ever do their best to support us and care for us, do not deserve this either." Adding a little humorous twist and saying, "This does not get 5 big booms from me, OG." Nyaners would say, "So is the COO gonna say anything about his involvement, or is he busy Googling how do I renew my law license past the deadline?" Pretty much revealing to us for the first time that the chief operating officer, the one who handled legalities within VShojo, had an expired law license. Silvervale would say, "How did you not know? How could you betray the people that trusted you the most and think everyone would believe this garbage? You ruined lives. I hope the money gets repaid, but I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't. You're a disgrace and a disappointment." Hey, you know what? You go, girl. She's just doing the same exact thing he did to her during the whole Hogwarts Legacy fiasco. But one of the most heartbreaking replies would be from Zentreya, saying, "I've been trying to figure out what to say. Why did you keep dodging my messages and concerns? When I wanted to do one-on-ones, you kept dodging or gave me a short corporate answer. Even when I was under immense pressure from the community for answers about the auditions and I pleaded for a statement by your PR team, you told me it wasn't needed. You made a tiny video instead, looking like you were hurt and upset, saying sorry, instead of meeting me one-on-one for my concerns, and I was left crying and frustrated. But like a fucking dog, I went back and happy to even get something from you cause oh man, boss actually answered me. You wanted a one-on-one finally when you knew everything was crashing around you. Then debuting new talents and such even after the community kept asking about it and kept waving it off and letting me take the punches. I smiled, I fucking brushed it off and kept pushing the company cause I was hopeful for new talent and bringing new people to help. Instead, I find you were hiring people without input and poaching without even the idea of truly helping them other than financial gain. We didn't even know who you were bringing in. You and the team told us to just take it. You and some people were really ready for me to be thrown under over and over. Even when Amelie joined, I begged you to put out a statement regarding auditions before she announced her debut stream. You gave us the middle finger. Me and Amelie had to put out a statement because your PR team was unfit for their job. I took it all. Why did we have to say anything at all? Why did I have to keep taking the fucking damage over and over? You were hurting me well before this, you know you have. I've been pushing a company so blindly who didn't even care for me, but I'm an idiot and I kept believing. I was so excited for this. I spent sleepless nights dealing with constant harassment and you spent money which you didn't even have without even warning us on God knows what, and you knew, don't even lie, you knew that the money was for charity and was supposed to be placed to the side to be untouched. Where did $11 million go in less than 3 years even? What happened to all that money? I'm just really tired from all these years.
I can't. I see why Zentrea was depressed as fuck, bro. I see why now. I really hope she's doing okay.
Years of working trying to push for something that kept pushing me to the wolves. I was so stupid, but I was so excited. I really trusted you. We all did. Despite everything, I don't wish you any ill will. I just hope you find some way to make this right. VShojo had gone from being the hope of the VTubing community to a leech that had sucked out the hope of everyone who had any contact with it, whether they were talents or not talents, whether they had auditioned or were in the process of joining. This was a tragedy on a cataclysmic scale. And no one was believing anything he said. No, there was no way you didn't know that this money was intended for the Immune Deficiency Foundation. Zero possibility. You literally brought Iron Mouse to an Immune Deficiency Foundation charity event in person. VShojo even issued a press release stating they would donate half the profits from her subathon on September 2nd, 2024. You think this won't be used in court? You can't just feign ignorance. Legal Mindset would later chime in saying the only reason the VShojo CEO included the later learned language is to try to keep himself out of criminal hot water. But I mean, come on. Even a pet hamster would understand by now that there's no way he's dodging this. Soon after, Twitch would remove the legacy emote known as Gunrun, not wanting to associate with him in any way. But you want to know what's crazy? Fruit has been inactive from January 2025. She finally made a comeback on July 21st, 2025, and literally just a day after she had come back, she would find out about the whole Iron Mouse situation. She effectively came back to a raging fire. At this point, it was already implied, but she still felt the need to specify that she's left VShojo, saying, as a day one talent, it's truly heartbreaking that it has come to this. I had the opportunity to achieve so much in the last 4 to 5 years. I'm really anxious about becoming indie, but I'm going to continue doing what I set out to do and make fun things. The people, whether talent or staff, were the best part about the company. I had the pleasure of meeting so many inspiring individuals. I hope we can cheer them all on together moving forward. And with Fruit leaving, VShojo had officially become a talent agency with absolutely zero talent. I think it's important to specify that even though these VTubers already had one hell of a community around them, having to wrestle with the idea that you're going indie, that you're losing all the resources that this agency once gave you, all in the span of 24 hours, isn't the easiest thing to process. But you know what isn't easy to process, at least for VShojo? The fact that Vey didn't give a single shit that she was
wait,
still
their
under
NDAs
NDA.
are void now.
She saw the company crumbling, barely able to keep up with finances. She thought, they're not going to sue me, so she revealed everything. And it was extremely disturbing, saying, and so our NDAs are now void. Why I left VShojo. Back in 2023, VShojo tried to bully me into one of the most predatory contracts that I have ever seen. When I tried to ask more about it, their COO got extremely hostile with me and refused to answer any of my questions, and so I had to hire a lawyer in order to get some clarification. During the talks, it became clear that VShojo would rather let me go than to take less away from me. They were ultimately wanting me to give up more than half of all my sponsor revenue and over 60% of all my merch sales. All I asked from them in return is to not take a cut of the sponsors that I was getting through Mythic, as that cut was already being taken. They said no, they want it all. So just to clarify any confusion here, most of the VShojo talents had a talent agency in parallel to VShojo, like Mythic Talent, for example. They would be there for the sole purpose of getting them sponsors. This was a completely normal thing to do, but VShojo wanted a cut of the sponsors from Mythic even though they were doing nothing to get her those sponsors. They would then continue, and so I asked to leave after being treated like I was disposable in our talks. They basically made it seem like they were my employer and that they're the reason for my success, that I owe them and that I should be happy to give them my money. In order for me to leave, they demanded I sign an NDA that prevented me from speaking to any of the other talent about it. I could not say why I was leaving. I could not say what the terms that I was saying no to were. I even got in trouble for advising them to hire their own attorneys. They would watch my streams, read my Discord, and then threaten to sue me. If I said anything that hinted towards how I really felt about the company, I was threatened with a lawsuit. Another one of their leave terms was that they will announce both me and Silver on the same day in order to minimize the damage to their company. Their COO had begun to push a narrative on 4chan, yes I'm serious LMFAO, and other social media that I'm leaving because I plan to join OTK and that both me and Silvervale are troublemakers, so they were letting us go. Later I found out that Nyaners wanted to leave around the same time due to also being unhappy with the contract, but was told that she couldn't because it did not fit their narrative that they were pushing internally and externally. The amount of hate we've gotten over leaving, from fans calling us greedy bitches to people saying we're abandoning our friends and tossing aside the company because we're successful enough, was fucking painful. Not being able to say anything sucked. I only found out I didn't get paid for any of my sponsors after I had already signed the NDA. After 2 years, I have still not been paid back fully. To add insult to injury, they also demanded I had to pay them back $10,000 for some of the anniversary assets, which when they sent me back months later were half finished. Despite all of that, I've had immense faith that the company has gotten better over the past 2 years. I assumed they rewrote their contracts after losing 3 people due to them and seeing all that new talent join. Clearly, this was not the case. Now, for some fun facts. Their company lawyer has an expired law license. He literally does not practice law anymore, yet he was our point of contact for any legal help we needed. They actively pitted us against one another during my time there and compared our success to others. They tried enforcing streaming schedules so that our viewer count would look better due to less overlap. They would always shit-talk other VTuber agencies. They literally would spend company money to get a tiny dig at them, especially Hololive. It literally lived rent-free in Gunrun's head. They were convinced Hololive was over when they sent Keisan and Nazuna. Our previous talent manager got ghosted for 6 months by Gunrun, told not to do any work for us, and then got fired for not doing anything. During this fiasco, we weren't able to get any assistance. Mountain Dew got reprimanded for being creepy to us, lol. Got told not to message us privately. Go figure. I have proof from other streamers attending VShojo's IRL parties that Mountain Dew would actively shit-talk me after I left the company to paint me in the worst light imaginable. Don't know why you're acting innocent on Twitter pretending you weren't aware of anything. Can't wait to see all the shit that comes out about you because there's loads, but those aren't my stories to tell.
Ooh, it got a little fucking spicy. Bro.
Thanks for reading, and thanks to those who stuck around between then and now. Thank you for giving me, Silver, and Neon the benefit of the doubt when we needed it most. So, yeah, this was insane. Many of the top streamers in the space would react to this with complete and utter shock. Bro, I was caught completely off guard. Holy shit. I could have never in a million years expected that. And this caused Mountain Dew to be community noted on the post he had made tagging Gunrun, with it saying, this user was also included in many of VShojo's mismanagement issues and has been called out for harassing
You gotta love
talents.
community notes,
Nyaners
bro.
would further confirm what Vey had said, saying Mountain Dew had the audacity to talk shit about you to my face at a party the year that we all left, and painted you as some kind of conniving, greedy, mean girl who was in my ear and manipulated me into leaving VShojo just because you wanted me to join OTK because her boyfriend Soda is part of that org or for some personal gain or some shit. He got uncomfortably close and up in my face and was like, come on, I know the real reason you left. I know it was because of Vey. She talked you into it, etc. And it was infuriating. I know he spread that same shit to other staff, talent, and other industry people. Seeing one of my closest friends get dragged through the mud like this for years was awful. You did absolutely nothing wrong and had so much shit flung at you just because they wanted to push a narrative.
I'm sorry, let a motherfucker come into my face yelling at me. It would be a very huge natural instinct of mine to fucking throw a right hook, bro. I'm talking, you get in my face and yell at me about bullshit and or whatever the fuck, bro. I'm sorry, I'm a little furious about this too. I'm just trying to make jokes. Bro, I swear to God, like, on my life, I'm throwing the meanest fucking right hook at this motherfucker. He come up to me yelling like that, everybody about to know. You shit talk? Good. I'll put your fist where your mouth is, motherfucker.
Narrative to protect the company. For him to act like he's completely blameless is insulting. He is a creepy motherfucker, and there's a lot more obviously, but a lot of it is also not my story to tell. Absolutely wild. Now, Dean, a lawyer that's actually certified, specialized in content creation, would tweet this out after Vei's tweet, saying, VShojo has not officially filed bankruptcy. They have not dissolved. Contracts are still in place. NDAs are still in place. Please review contracts before you say anything on the matter if you have signed anything at all with them. But then Vei, whether aware or unaware of that tweet, would still tweet this out saying, I'll have to steal from another charity to sue me.
That's exactly what I just fucking said earlier in the video, bro. I just said, bro, let them try to come for my throat. That's why I'm not saying allegedly, bro. That's why I'm not saying allegedly. Because wait for them to fucking... Bro, sue me with what money, bro?
Well,
I got more money than
a
them.
VTuber by the name of Kayan, who's a corporate accountant IRL, would quote tweet Gunrun's botched apology saying, I'm a corporate accountant IRL. You do not misspend $11 million and you do not mistake charitable/talent earned gains as company funds. This is a textbook embezzlement. He should be in cuffs. And speaking of those $11 million, this was seen as a genius move back in 2022. But the industry insiders that were very doubtful that VShojo was making money and that they could pay it back in 2023 were mostly thinking this way because they weren't working with a private investor, they were working with venture capital, a form of fundraising that had zero flexibility. They wanted their money back, period. And they sure as hell were the last people to understand what the hell VTubing even was to begin with. We would then get more insight into how much VShojo was struggling from a Japanese commodities trader, saying, unfortunate situation, but just remembered Kat, who was a friend of his, was offered $2 million to buy the whole thing, but obviously the operation was so unprofitable, Kat said no. I don't know how it ended this badly, but going through the financials, to be honest, it just looks like a team that never ran a business before. Kat was always a supporter or donor of VTubers and was interested in investing in them. A friend of mine was the largest investor in VShojo, RIP, $0, implying that he had lost all his money. Maybe the loan the company took legally required them to be paid back first before the 500k stream donation go through to Ironmouse, not sure. Still believe it's a terribly ran business rather than fraud, or at least I hope. So as early as June 21, 2025, VShojo was selling itself for $2 million to an investor. This was the amount that they owed to talents and loans. Bear in mind, this is a company that had taken an $11 million loan and had some of the best talent in the entire VTubing industry, hell, the entire entertainment industry. They were valuing themselves at $2 million. Incredible. This really showed us that they really had no idea what they were doing with the business, and we'd only get more glimpses as to how badly they ran the company when even more people would speak out. One of them being Camilla, a well-renowned VTuber in the industry, saying, I want to start by saying that the severity of my experience isn't the same as what others went through with Gunrun. Just wanted to share this tidbit because it affected a lot of my friends, including me. In 2022, I applied for VShojo. I applied under my past life, so her past VTuber identity. VShojo at the time prefaced that they were looking specifically for smaller streamers. I thought I'd give it a chance because I was a very small one at the time. I auditioned. I passed. I received an email saying that I would be moving to the next stage, as well as some of my friends. I and others were so excited to have even passed the initial round. That alone was something to be proud of. We filled out the next part. This mainly contained more technical questions. What's your schedule like? Are you good with handling technical difficulties? What kind of streaming equipment do you own? Etc. Submitted that and, well, got another email back. I made it to round 3. I was so happy. I know I wasn't fully accepted yet, but it was still a nice feeling. So I waited. I waited a few days for the next step. A few days turned into weeks. A few weeks turned into a few months. Nothing. I would frantically check my email almost every single day waiting for something. Eventually, I let it go. They moved on without a word. I was sad, sure, but more confused by the sudden disappearance. A year later, I started growing as a streamer. I met so many other VTubers and learned a lot by being around them. One day, I was chatting with a bigger VTuber and eventually, the topic of VShojo came up. They told me they auditioned the same time I did. She made it to the final round, but they rejected her and the finalists last minute to hire someone they already knew. And these VTubers were given hush money not to tell anyone about it. The girls were devastated, just like the rest of us who got dropped without warning. So yeah, thank you for wasting everyone's time, I guess. Oh, and one more thing before I forget. You have no idea how many times your talents called me in tears, suffering due to your neglect and the way you constantly mistreated them. They weren't getting paid, they weren't getting responses from you for over 6 months, and other heart-shattering moments I can't share yet. Is this the treatment you give to those who contributed to your success? No one as sweet and hardworking as them should have been treated like that and stolen from, and with that being said, I dedicate this to you. It will be a song sang by Camilla titled Dear Gunrun, in which she would address him personally with the lyrics that she wrote. Mia, yet another VTuber that was screwed over by VShojo, would reply to Camilla's post, saying, I only spent half a year getting my hopes up. I cannot even comprehend how the people must feel who got strung along for even longer, just for upper management to choose bigger creators, while the talents, like Zentreya, had to tank all the criticism because they believed their words and promises as well. And all of us smaller people applying trusting Zentreya while the talents had to tank all the hatred from people claiming nepotism. Just to then, in the end, find out that upper management did treat the talents like cash cows and did try to get more cash cows instead of keeping the promises they gave everyone else. They sold this dream to everyone and made all of those false promises to talents and fans alike just to crush all of it, while letting the talent tank it all and disappointing so many people on the road. But what about this whole hush money thing? What about the people who made it as finalists and were given money by VShojo to never speak of it again? Well, one of those talents was ZroSlash, and she confirmed it live on her stream. Watch.
Like, at the time when I applied for auditions, how many years was that ago? That was like 3 years ago. I literally do not care anymore. But at that time, they tried to like give me the hush money, which I didn't take. And I spoke about the like what happened as carefully as I could, because I was like still scared to like, you know, have bad blood or anything, and then people still like hated on me. Like nobody believed me. Okay.
So you go through these auditions hoping that this will change your life. The company ends up being very unprofessional, backs down, wants to give you money to hush hush. You don't take it so that you can tell people about this, and when you do, they don't even believe you. I can't imagine the mental toll ZroSlash, as well as pretty much everyone else in this video, went through because of this company. I mean, it really is incredible just how many people this company had affected negatively. The list was so large, you couldn't even print it on a sheet of A4 paper. For example, this artist was in the works to bring VShojo to WeebCon 2026, pitching it and having management approve. They would tell her, oh, we'd plan a meeting next week. Their schedule was very packed, but you know, now she understands this is never going to happen. She was given no prior warning. And someone else had spent months and thousands of dollars developing a leather jacket concept for Kuro. VShojo's management loved it, and the artist was under the impression that this was going to be a joint venture. But after all this work, VShojo eventually just offered to buy out the whole thing. They didn't want to work with this artist, they just wanted the idea and the jacket. And you know what the worst part is? This artist, desperate not to let all their work go to waste, reluctantly agreed. And then got ghosted, showing us that this business was truly ran by children. Kuro would find this post and would say, wait, what? I don't know how to say this, but I've never been shown this by anyone, even though I had asked many times if it was possible to get a jacket made, but there was never any update to me, so I assumed it's impossible. There was truly no end to VShojo's fuck-ups. Niji Sanji, move aside because there's a new person on the throne. But if you thought that was the end of these talents getting punched in the face, you'd be wrong. On July 31st, 2025, Amelie would tweet, Mama should have raised a quitter because there's only so many punches I can take, man. Kuro would tweet, oh man, I might have some bad news. Someone asked, is it about your new house? He said, no, it's about old merch. And finally, Giga would say, I am once again trying not to crash out, but brother. She would go live shortly after to explain that there's some merch that was sold to her audience that was still unfulfilled. It wasn't shipped yet, sitting in the warehouse. Seeing that VShojo is a complete mess right now, she doesn't know who to reach out to get a list of people who, bought it. Their addresses, like where she can send them to. It's completely unclear. She's still trying to figure out the details, but it seems that unfortunately, the people who did buy the merch and didn't get their order fulfilled might just get scammed. But as far as I know, some of Giga's merch did ship. In Kuro's case though, none of it shipped. In fact, it wasn't even sent to production. The pinned post in Kuro's community on Twitter right now is this, saying, merch update. Unfortunately, Kuro's birthday merch was never sent to production, so please file a dispute at your bank/PayPal and do a chargeback ASAP. If you need help, feel free to DM me. So during Kuro's birthday, with VShojo, he was selling some special merch. Typically, the way it works is that when merch is being sold for something like this, there's a time limit. Once that time limit's over, the company knows exactly how many items to print or produce in order to send them to the person who bought them. In this case, though, they sold merch but never produced it. Knowing that VShojo is in deep financial trouble, it's safe to say people are not going to get refunded. So the only way to really get your money back is to charge back. I mean, this is a disaster at an apocalyptic level. It's not just the talents being affected by VShojo's incompetence, it's their fans now. It's so sad to see. But hey, you know what? Not all of it was negative, because the VTubing community was able to take this extremely negative situation and turn it into a very positive one. Iron Mouse was officially indie again, and her Tiltify charity fundraiser, in barely just over a day, it had reached over $1 million, with the Immune Deficiency Foundation themselves making a tweet saying, "I'm not crying, you're crying." The campaign at the end of July is currently sitting at over $1.3 million raised, and it was so impactful, not just to the VTubing community, but pretty much everyone who had heard about it, that the CEO of the Immune Deficiency Foundation had made a video thanking Iron Mouse and her community for everything. I mean, this is just incredible, very wholesome. Everyone coming together was just an amazing thing to see. Look, this VShojo saga is probably the messiest, craziest thing I have ever covered on this channel, as the biggest disaster that's ever occurred in the VTubing space. And ironically enough, the new era of VTubing wasn't actually created with VShojo, it was created with the end of VShojo. I personally completely agree with Sayu's tweet, in which he says, "I said it yesterday on stream, but what's happening in the VTubing space right now is reminding me of the Machinima MCN days, sounding like old man Sayu." I mean, I remember Machinima, but I'm not old, okay? They used to host some of my favorite shows that I watched growing up. But the way they were created was as an MCN, a multi-channel network, something that is completely extinct today. Back then, YouTubers, especially centered around video games, believed that the only way to succeed or get to the next step of content creation was to sign on with a Machinima. This would allow them to get...
I could be wrong on that. I know Mujin, for some reason, sometimes, like, words things weird, or like fucks up his pronunciation of things, or like says the wrong shit. So I mean, I don't know what Sayu goes by, but I've heard Sayu call himself a man a lot, so I would only assume he's a guy. My apologies for assumptions.
Control over your YouTube channel and essentially make decisions for you. The promise here was that you would be getting so many sponsors, money, cool opportunities, but the reality was that you would be severely limited as to what you can do, and Machinima would practically become your boss. You would have no freedom. Your channel wouldn't even be owned by you anymore. Eventually, everyone left this company once they realized that they were practically scammers, and this led to the company completely shutting down. So maybe the new era of VTubing content creation lies in the independent creators themselves. Maybe VTubing, just like video game content creation in the early 2000s, needed these agencies to lay a foundation, but now they're not needed anymore. Who knows? Time will tell. I do find it hilarious though that in a stream with Michi and Matara, they would find out through tarot cards that VShojo was going to be doomed this year. This was back in like February, okay? Just this year. And speaking of VShojo, in Legal Mindset's opinion, this statement was so poorly written that it might as well be Gunrun admitting to a crime. This wasn't over, and the talents could most definitely sue. I don't know what'll happen, but I would definitely not bet my money on Gunrun. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this ridiculously long video. I don't know how long it's going to be while recording this, but I am not looking forward to editing at all. And also, special thanks to Rima Evenstar for very quickly compiling some of the lengthy statements from many of the VTubers affected by VShojo. As of now, VShojo's store is not available anymore, but it's important to note that it hasn't filed for bankruptcy yet and hasn't closed its doors down either. As far as we know, it's still a company, one with no money, but still a company. If there's anything for you to understand from all this is to, well, always hire a lawyer to read out contracts. And if a company makes you feel guilty about it, then they're probably a massive red flag. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video whenever that is. I don't know what it's going to be.
W video, W coverage. Mujin. W, bro.